Not that you had much choice. All right. Okay. Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of May 1st, 2023 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this meeting has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board, electronic message board, WCTV, and on the Township website. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Salute to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So roll call, please.
My apologies to all, but thank you for your patience. Councilman Casio.
Here.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Here.
Councilman Sears.
Here.
Councilwoman Velez. Here. Council President Morgan.
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Calamari, Township Administrator DeCarlo, Township Attorney Poller, and Township Clerk Witkowski. Also in attendance is David Buno, our grant writer. PSA for May 1st, 2023. New community alert system. Receive community information instantly. Sign up at nixle.com. That's NIXLE.com. Nixle replaces SwiftReach. Styrofoam recycling has resumed once again at the DPW. Drop off at the DPW yard is by ecology permit only. Visit the website for the application. The hours are as follows. Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tuesdays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please note the yard is closed on Tuesdays during leaf collection and bulk pickup weeks. National Fentanyl Awareness Day is Tuesday, May 9th. The Township of Washington Municipal Alliance and WT Police Department are pleased to offer the following informative programs. DEA Agent Talk, Monday, May 8th at 1 p.m. and again at 6:45 p.m. DEA Agent Richard Grossfeld will be at the library offering an informative program on the current fentanyl issue plaguing the country. Please register as space is limited. Coffee with a Cop, Tuesday, May 9th, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Local officers will be at the library to speak with residents about any topics of concern and will have educational fentanyl handouts available. The DPW is looking for 2 to 3 part-time seasonal workers to start as soon as possible. Up to 29 hours a week, regular driver's license, must be 18 years or older. Please visit our website for further information. Northwest Bergen Regional Health Commission will be hosting Babysitting 101 on Wednesday, May 24th, 4:30 at the library. To register, please go to www.twpofwashingtonpl.org, Township of Washington's library webpage. As per ordinance number 22-18, tree vendors must be registered to work in the township. Please visit our website for the tree vendor application and a list of approved registered tree vendors. Quarter 2, May taxes are due today. Yay! Monday, May 1st. The grace period is through Wednesday, May 10th. For your convenience, the tax office would like to remind you that you are able to view your property tax information and pay your property taxes online through the township's website. The Township of Washington Ambulance Corps is looking for volunteers. If you can volunteer, please call WTVAC headquarters at 201-664-3784. Leave a message. Either President Bob Ehlers or Captain Trevor Landau will return your call. The next council meeting will be held on Monday, May 15th at 7:30 p.m. We have approval of minutes for September 19th, 2022, public meeting and conference meeting. But actually, we have to do this roll call because I think Daisy,
I have to
yeah,
abstain
okay.
or recuse.
So moved.
Abstain.
Yeah, she has to abstain,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Second.
I'll second. Okay, Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
I abstain.
And Council President Morgan.
Yes. October 3rd, 2022, public meeting, conference meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. October 17th, 2022, public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Abstain. Okay, and we're going to move to proclamations. Okay.
Thank you, Council President.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to have two proclamations this evening. First one is in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas mental health is essential to overall health and well-being, and all people experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives and should feel comfortable in seeking help and support to manage these times. And whereas, like physical illness, mental illness is a medical condition that can be treated effectively through prevention, early identification, and early intervention. With effective treatment, all individuals with mental illness can make progress toward recovery and lead full, productive lives. And whereas mental illness affects 1 in 5 people in the United States, and the experience can be devastating for individuals and families with little knowledge or access to mental health services. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has created a multitude of mental health challenges for our community members of all ages, and connecting people to care is more important than ever. And whereas May is annually recognized throughout the nation as Mental Health Awareness Month, whereas it is the 10th anniversary of the beginning of the Stigma-Free Initiative in Bergen County, with Paramus initially declaring itself a stigma-free zone in 2013. And whereas the Township of Washington declared themselves as a stigma-free zone and will continue to support the Stigma-Free Initiative. Whereas the stigma-free zones aim to inspire public interest and open dialogue about stigma, raise awareness of the diseases of mental illness, and create a culture wherein residents who have the diseases of mental illness feel free to seek treatment for the disease without fear of stigma. And whereas local resources are available to treat the disease of mental illness, so no one resident needs to suffer alone or feel hopeless. And now be it resolved that the Township of Washington recognizes the community needs and continues to support the efforts of the County of Bergen in continuing to be a stigma-free zone. And this is from myself and the council as a body.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have another.
We have another very special one this evening. I would like to invite the Council President and Tom Sears down to help me read this proclamation. Bill, if you want to come up, please, and if Lauren, if you want to come up also, it'd be great. So, yeah.
Thank you.
We each decided we're going to tag team reading paragraphs of the proclamation. I'm happy to kick things off. Whereas William Bill Thompson was born November 6, 1949 in Chicago, Illinois, and
Whereas Bill entered the United States Marine Corps after high school, earned his entrance into the VFW by serving in Vietnam with A Company, 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines as an infantryman from November 1968 until November 1969. Bill extended his tour in Vietnam, was assigned with A Company, 1st Battalion, 4th Marines during his extended deployment, and
Whereas upon his return, Bill continued the service in the Marine Corps first at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, then transferred to the Philadelphia Naval Base as a military police officer. In 1972, he became the youngest Marine at the time to be assigned to recruiting duty. He served 4 years in Chicago, Illinois, before serving in an additional 8 years on recruiting duty in Philadelphia. And
whereas in 2002, Bill became the VFW District 2 Junior Vice Commander. In 2005, he was an All-State District Commander, was awarded the Howard Vanderkloot Award for achieving the most numerical gain in district membership. In 2007, Bill was elected as the Department Judge Advocate and was also appointed the Department Adjunct. And
whereas in 2008, Bill was appointed to service on Governor Corzine's Yellow Ribbon Commission. He was given the responsibility to develop a program to treat returning National Guard members returning from the battlefield for potential PTSD. And
whereas in 2014, he became the chairman of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Eastern States Conference, a position he held until July 2015. In 2019, Governor Murphy nominated Bill to serve on the Veterans Home Advisory Board. And
that's why we had to tag team this. Whereas for most of the past 18 years, Bill has been a member of the State and National Legislative Committee, lobbying for some of the most important legislative victories in our modern era. And
whereas Bill has been awarded the Vietnam Campaign Medal with Device, Vietnam Service Medal with 4 stars, Combat Action Ribbon, Vietnam Cross of Gallantry with Palm, National Defense Service Medal, and the Good Conduct Medal.
thank you. And therefore, recognition of Bill's service to his country,
now, therefore, in recognition of Bill's service to his country and its veterans, we, the mayor, and the council members of the Township of Washington do hereby proclaim May 1st, 2023 as William Bill Thompson Day in the Township of Washington.
Thank you.
May 1st.
Original.
Yes.
Picture opportunities.
Yeah.
You have your phones, you want to take pictures? Thank you so much. Truly an overachiever. A very long overachiever. Yeah.
We're kind of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we go any further, we will take a short break. Those of you who would like to stay, you're more than welcome, but I had a feeling that some of you may have wanted to come and see Bill, and I don't want to keep you here if you would rather watch us from home. So, motion to,
So moved.
okay,
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
5-minute break. We're back. We're going to move to the report of the administrator.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. This is my response regarding council and resident concerns from April 17th. Mr. Scalia brought up a concern regarding the speed limit on Pascack Road. The speeding complaint has been brought to the attention of Chief Skinner. Chief Skinner was also requested to investigate the actual speed limit and the potential of lowering the speed on Pascack Road. Mr. Scalia also brought up the unfortunate incident of a child being hit by a car that evening. Not that evening, but he brought it up that evening. I was able to find out some details that thankfully it was a very minor accident and the child was not badly injured. Fortunately, did not involve speed and it involved a vehicle turning while the child was in the crosswalk. Regardless, Chief Skinner and the police department will look into the speed limit on the roadway. Councilman Sears inquired as to the procedure that is followed when attempting to obtain unpaid taxes in the township. I spoke with Ms. Apara, our tax collector. Ms. Apara advised that delinquent notices go out at the end of each quarter. Those that fail to pay their taxes will eventually go to a tax sale the following year. I was advised that we have not had to go out to tax sale on any prior properties, specifically in 2020 and in 2021. Ms. Rydell, there was an update to her request to obtain a permit to use the basketball court at Memorial Field. After further review and discussion, it has been decided to allow Ms. Rydell to complete permit requests for each date, which she did. She was requesting to play on the court. Administration would like to identify that Ordinance 1515 does not specifically address the request for multiple consecutive permits. However, the intent of the ordinance was for one-time use. Regardless, the Recreation Department is currently working on recommendations to the council in revision of the ordinance to address several matters in addition to that one as well. Also, this came in today from Bergen County JIF. Township of Washington is the platinum recipient for the 2022 Safety Incentive Program with a monetary award of $1,750. Council President, that concludes my report to council. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move to the report of mayor.
Thank you again. Evening, everyone. Police Department news. The accreditation process for the department continues to move forward. On April 1st, the police department participated in a blood drive for Shane McCoo. This was a team effort organized by Corporal Vinnie Santa. On April 15th, the police department worked at and participated in the township's 5K and health fair event. Officer Ian O'Halloran took second place in his age group. Recreation news. The 2023 summer camp registration is now open. One other piece of news, but Council President will talk about that as it's a program near and dear to her heart. Please visit the Township of Washington's website for more details on the programs. Fire Department news. For the month of April, the department responded to multiple fire alarm calls along with the odor of smoke in a house, a rollover on the parkway, and another call to the parkway for a medevac landing. The department also attended both the 5K race and opening day of baseball, where they proudly displayed the American flag from Tower 41 during the national anthem. New emergency services building. Excuse me. Now that the asphalt centers have reopened for the season, the contractor is back on site and should have the balance of the paving done in the parking lot during the next few weeks. DPW news. Household debris collection is this week. The next scheduled collection of metal and white goods is May 11th. Please call to schedule a pickup. They installed an extended railing on the Cleveland Woodfield walkway for safety reasons. New mulch was placed at multiple town facilities there, including the parks and fields. A new scoreboard will be installed at Gardner Field this week. The members of the department are often the unsung heroes of the many events that take place in town. In April, they assisted with the 5K run, shredding event, and baseball opening day. DPW facility news. The architect and engineer are progressing with their work to get the project out to bid. Intersection news. Again, now that the asphalt centers have reopened, the contractor is meeting with the police this week to set up a paving schedule. Please continue to check the town website and Facebook page for daily updates regarding detours. Library news. This month brought a slew of fiber crafting classes to the library, teen and adult sewing classes, and stitching groups for new and experienced residents. They also held a yoga class, a special bingo night, and an Earth Day scavenger hunt for children. Coming up in May is the annual May the 4th Star Wars crafts and events. You should have received the library newsletter last week, and it is crammed full of fun events and programs for all ages for May and June. June is National CPR and AED Week, and the library is hosting free classes thanks to the donation from Bob Stickle at Lifesavers. Please see the newsletter for dates and times. Municipal Alliance news. The annual Footprints for Life program was held in March and April at Washington School for all third graders. This program addresses the issues of bullying and making good decisions. National Fentanyl Awareness Day is Tuesday, May 9th. This is probably repetitive from the PSA. A DEA agent will be at the library on Monday, May 8th at both 1 p.m. and 6:45 p.m. to do a presentation on this topic in the library community room. On Tuesday, May 9th, stop by the library at 10 a.m. for coffee with a cop and ask any follow-up questions about fentanyl or any other town topic you would like. Grants. The grant writer is here this evening to speak about a couple of grants. I am asking the council to approve the filing of the applications via resolution. One of them is for improvements to the former swim club property, and the other one is to potentially purchase the 3+ acre property known as 450 Pascack Road. Recreation Advisory Board. As stated during the last council meeting, the board voted to recommend to the council that the town no longer continue to operate the property as a swimming facility. The board also endorses the grant applications in front of the council this evening. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Okay, and we'll move to report of council. Councilwoman Feeney?
Yes, just for brevity, since we're running a little bit late. The next council meeting, I'm going to be recommending that we review rolling property tax reevaluations for the town. And doing some research, we found that Westwood had a reduction due to a process that they're doing, which is a rolling reevaluation. So a certain percentage of the town gets reevaluated every year. And they got a significant reduction in their property taxes due to this. with the new properties being built in town, this could benefit all residents who have been here for a very long time. So there could be a reduction. So just to let everybody know, and I'm doing the research to see potentially what the percentage and the reduction could be, and I'll have that for the next council meeting. That's actually all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Sears?
Yes, thank you. With the Green Team report, we had the health fair. I want to thank the DPW and the police department for helping us out during the event. We had multiple vendors that participated, and I want to thank every one of them. The Green Team is also working on the anti-fentanyl awareness. You'll see our signs going up throughout town. I do have some extra lawn signs. Please, if you need one, come see me, support this month. Clark Field, I'm working with the administrator to finish up the trees that need to be planted at Clark Field. We got Lincoln Park, we're doing a berry planting for the wildlife up there. Watch our website. I'll get you the dates of when we're going to be doing the planting. As the mayor did state, the styrofoam collection has started. It starts actually tomorrow, and we worked a great deal with Ridgewood. We're going to save a lot of money. And I want to thank the administrator and the mayor for working on that. I'm also working with the administrator, the engineer, about a handicap swing set down in Clark Field. That is on our agenda to have a swing set installed for wheelchair-bound children within the township and handicap. We're working with the middle school and the library for recycling markers and other items for the school. That will be coming up in the next couple of weeks as school ends. We are also planning to do a cleanup on the bridge over the brook down off Chestnut. We're doing a cleanup and doing some planting, some flowers down there to spruce up that area. VFW news. Last week, VFW Post 6192 donated $20,000 to the high school to build a outdoor greenhouse for the science lab. Flags for Memorial Day will be handed out on May the 17th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at the Veterans Circle in front of Town Hall off of Pascack Road. We have a limited amount of flags this year, so first come, first serve. We will also be collecting any old flags for retirement. VFW is offering 2 scholarships again this year. One is Patriot Pen, and the other one is Voice of Democracy. They all carry first prize is $500, second is $300, and the third prize is $100. Some town news. The mayor did mention that they did fix the bridge over the brook, and the DPW did an excellent job. Thank you, Mr. DiCarlo. The tree vendor, or the tree vendor list, is really being enforced by the code official, and I got to appraise him. He's doing an outstanding job. There were some citations issued. He's given a lot of leeway to the residents, but the vendors need to put their stickers on their trucks. The speeders are back on Beach Street and Colonial again, so I'll be talking to the mayor. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Velez?
Yes, thank you. So, several things, actually. May is part of our age-friendly initiative. May is Older Americans Month. This year's 2023 theme is Aging Unbound. So I encourage our residents to visit the county website. They have a lot of activities going on throughout the county. So if you want to take a peek and see what fits within your schedule. For those of you who have traveled to Town Hall, you've probably seen a big green book bin. We had a date coordinated for a ribbon cutting, but it got rained out, and we've been dealing with some rain issues and scheduling challenges. So hopefully we'll have a little bit better luck in May. In the meantime, the bin is operational. It's fully, it works. Residents are welcome to donate their books. I'd hate to see somebody driving around with books in their cars. Feel free to drop them in. A couple of weeks ago, I was invited to the baseball softball opening day. It was a very nice turnout. We have a ton of kids participating, which is a big indicator of how much we are in need of fields. So I really hope that we can work towards improving our fields here in the town. On Monday, May 29th, we will be hosting, in conjunction with the VFW, Post 6192, the Memorial Day Parade. It will take place on Clinton Ave, starting at 10 a.m., proceeding down to Washington Ave, down to Pascack Road, where it will end in front of Town Hall, and the VFW ceremony will take place at the conclusion of the parade. All are welcome to attend. For summer news, save the date, June 16th, 2023. We are welcoming for the first time in Township a modern country music tribute band named Big Hicks, who have performed all throughout the United States. They've actually recorded and performed with several gold and platinum selling Billboard artists. So we welcome everybody to come. The gates will open at 6:30. Show starts at 7:30. This will take place at Memorial Field. Again, June 16th, 2023. Please join us for a nice country concert with featuring Big Hicks. And then I do have a little bit of a long news for the 5K. The 5K was exceptionally successful. The health fair was a tremendous hit. It took place, as many of you know, on April 15th. It is the first township hosted 5K, and it went really well. Our goal was to have 100 participants, and we almost tripled it. On race day, we had 276 registered participants, to the point that the timing company actually reached out and said, we're going to bring more bibs in the morning because you may run out. What was amazing about the 5K is the sense of community. Friends, neighbors, families running, walking, cheering each other on from the front yards. It was absolutely beautiful to see everybody come together. The weather held out for both the 5K and the health fair. I sent a lot of prayers up north, so hopefully, or luckily, they were answered. It was also so well received that we actually had running clubs put this race on their championship races for 2024. So that speaks volumes as to how well it was organized, thanks to the volunteers and participants. A photo album is coming. We've had some technical difficulties. Luckily, we had an amazing volunteer photographer. I will just provide her first name, Ellery. Thank you so much for your generosity with your time and getting so many pictures up there. But we will get that album up. It will be on the Township Rec, Parks, and Public Affairs page. So if you don't follow that page, please do so. And then we'll, as soon as we can face these technical difficulties, we'll get it up. In speaking with the first place winner, he actually commended us for how well organized everything was, which leads me to my next point. I want to give a huge shout out to Sergeant Glock and his team, who did a phenomenal job with the street closures and signage. I ran the course myself, and I did not have to worry about exactly where I was going because they did just such a tremendous job with the closures and the signage. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. In addition to my thank yous, a big thank you to the fire department and the ambulance corps. This community is absolutely lucky to have guys like you who are just a phone call away and always happy to participate in all our endeavors across the whole community. Thank you for everything that you do. To the DPW guys, you're always smiling and ready to take on the day with us. Thank you so much for being the muscle behind the scenes. Aliana Euchre, she was able to come and sing our national anthem. She is our resident national anthem singer, so thank you so much. To the public affairs volunteers, You guys hit this out of the park. All the time, phone calls, meetings, and patience. You're an absolute blessing. Thank you for being such an awesome group to work with. And to our sponsors, we cannot bring these amazing community events without your support. This year's silver sponsors were Valley Bank and Highland Capital Corporation. Our bronze sponsors, Fleet Feet of Ridgewood, the Chelsea at Washington Township. Our individual sponsors, foundations, fire department, ambulance corps, Pascack Boxing and Fitness, the Cheryl Group, Holly Shapizi, Bob Oth, and John Azaridi, and Bethany Community Center for hosting both the 5K and the health fair. Thank you for being such an amazing community partner. As well as our snack and water sponsors, Hydro Quench 2.0, Trader Joe's of Westwood, and Fresh Grocer. Please make it a point to go see these businesses. They're really there for us, so let's be there for them. And last but not least, Mayor Peter Calamari and Councilman Tom Sears. It's always a pleasure working with both of you. Administrator DiCarlo, thank you so much for your support, and I'm looking forward to next year. Tremendous success, and it was absolutely a team effort, so thank you to everybody who participated. Thank you. That's it.
Council Vice President Casio.
Sure, thank you. Again, pretty much everything has been said. We're doing a great job here, I think, in the town with all our community involvement. But what I want to do is I want to bring attention to an issue that's going on, not only in Washington Township and Bergen County, but through the whole country. There is a series of frauds going on with title and deed theft. I don't know if you know aware of what that is where someone can tie or sign up on your deed and basically get custody of your house. And they can file liens and take mortgages out. But we're very lucky here in Bergen County, and I want to bring this to everyone's attention. You can sign up with the Bergen County Clerk, and they have a property alert service. You have to sign up for it. It's free. Just go to the bergencountyclerks.org. It's real easy. You put in your name, you put in your block and lot, and if there's any activity on your deed, they'll contact you. They can't stop it, but at least you'll be aware. Now, it takes a couple of days for that to be effect, but what happens a lot of times in these cases, you don't find out about until it's too late. It could be months before you realize that there's a lien on your house or someone's taking a loan against your home. So I urge you, please, your most important nest egg is your home. Let's protect it. Just sign up with them. It's free. You'll feel much better about yourself. So you can go to their main website, which is bergencountyclerk.org. Go to the tab services, go to property alert, fill in the information, and at least you have some form of protection of your home. And I think that's very important. We like our houses. We like where we are. Let's try and protect it as much as we can. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Really good information. I hear about it all the time, but I didn't know you could actually do that, and I definitely didn't think it was for free.
Yeah,
So
I would suggest everyone do it.
appreciate that. Okay, in my report, I just want a quick comment, Mayor. I'm really happy to hear about the scoreboard at Gardner. That's been a long time coming, so to see it come into fruition is great. Okay, if your child is in kindergarten in September or first grade in September, we have opens the Intro to Cheer registration. It is open today through July. We are going to be capping it at 60 participants. Please sign up. If you have any questions, you can contact me. I understand today we received some calls and emails that the link wasn't working or Community Pass didn't have it on it. That's been resolved. If you have any other questions, we did have a meeting for prospective parents. Some came, others sent representatives, so they had more questions, I guess. Any questions, please contact me at dmorgan@twpofwashington.us or Nikki Prunella at N like Nancy, M like Mary, Prunella, Prunella @gmail.com, and we'll try to assist you the best that we can. But signups are today, so I would suggest, based on the numbers continue to grow in this program, kindergarten, first grade is growing. The program is growing, so try to get on as soon as possible. It will stop at 60 or July 1st, whichever comes sooner. And then I just want to clarify real quick, because some of the questions we get is, what about my second grader or my third grader? kindergarten and first grade is here in Washington Township, but it is open to Westwood residents as well. When your child enters second grade, from second through eighth grade, they are in Westwood and they accept Washington Township as well. So that's how that works. Okay, and then we have scheduled the Traffic Flow Safety Committee meeting for Washington School. There are stakeholders who will be at this meeting who've already been identified from each of the groups. The school did their due diligence to invite people that they felt needed to be there. The council representation will be myself and Councilman Sears. The mayor and administrator will be there. We will have the engineer there, and several residents from the town, from the area will be there as well. That is scheduled for May 9th at 6:30. And an email will go out to just confirm, but those who will be attending already have those dates and have confirmed that. It will be here in the senior center. So there will be, I'm sure we're not going to resolve everything in one meeting, but it's a start and it's a conversation and a discussion to really hear the position from all sides so that we can make an informed group decision. So there'll be more to come on that at the next meeting. All right, and that is all I have. So now we're going to move to general public comment. There's a lot of people here tonight, so sometimes I can suspend those 5 minutes, but depending on the amount of people that want to speak, I think I'm going to have to stick to the rules tonight, unfortunately. So there is a 5-minute time limit. To participate in the general public comment portion of the meeting, please click on the link below to join the webinar. If by phone, *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. Each person wishing to address the council shall give his or her name for the record. Do not give your address. We are no longer asking for that. We ask that only one person speak at a time with a 5-minute time limit. Speakers are to direct all questions to the council president. All members of the public and council are expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted, and the council president will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments. Motion to open public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody who would like to come up? Come up.
Thank you. Lenny Sabino, and since I do not have to say my address,
Yes.
that's great. 2 points I want to make this evening. I'll leave my comments at 4:50 later on. First point is the new website, whoever designed it, I want to commend them. I think it looks awesome.
Oh, wonderful.
So, I don't know how long it's been active, but I saw it this week, and it looks great. Second point I want to make is 1 East Glen. And I know Mr. DiCarlo, I spoke on at a previous township meeting. A couple points there is, I know, my understanding is that the owner of that property has been fined $27,000 for taking down 9 trees. First point is, I want to make sure that the town collects that $27,000. I don't know what legal procedures are to potentially a lien on that property, but I've dealt with this woman as part of the planning board, and so I have a couple of representatives on the mayor and council. We all know what she's like. She harasses our professionals in the town hall. So I want to give her back some of what she's given some of our professionals in the town hall here. So I want to ensure we get the $27,000. The second point I want to make is, have you driven by that property lately? It looks like a log camp from the middle of the Amazon, right? It is horrible. And now there's a stop order. You're gonna have all those logs on that property. I drove by today and there are pools of water on that property. Pools of water breed insects, mosquito larvae. And if there's a stop order, and the third point is, if you go on Zillow, she's put the property up for sale. So how long before that property is sold? And that's gonna be an eyesore for the residents and an eyesore for this town. So I wanna understand from the mayor and council what actions can be taken to make that property look much better than the way it looks now.
Okay, stop his.
Councilwoman?
Yep.
May I respond to that?
Yes, of course.
Lenny, I did talk to the town attorney.
Mhm.
We're having a meeting tomorrow on this issue. You know,
Great.
he's researching some alternatives as a lien, but he is very aware of this now, thanks to both of us calling. And he's gonna have a meeting tomorrow, and I'll keep you up to date on it.
Great, great. Thanks, Tom. And anything we could do to make that property look better than the way it is now. I mean, there's logs, there's like a pile of sawdust, whatever it is, mulch, wood chips. That's like 10 feet high.
Well, the person still owns it, so it would be her responsibility. Otherwise, she would continue to get code violations. Okay.
Yeah, but can we investigate what code
Absolutely.
violations?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carl. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Did
Thank
you have any?
Councilperson.
You still have some time. Did you have any other?
About 450? But that's an
That'll
item on the
later.
agenda, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about later, right?
Yeah, okay.
I'll keep my comments to 450 until later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes, you can come up.
My name's Eugene Greco, and I know you said not to
Yeah.
not to state the address. However, part of my question is I need to give you my address.
Okay.
Okay, I'm at 697 Clinton Avenue, and this is actually more directed, I think, to Tom Sears. He was talking about the speeding on Beach and Colonial. You have to put Clinton Avenue on there because they come flying down that block 50 miles an hour, you know, and it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone. And I've been there 60 years, okay? Most of the old people, older families, when I moved in, have now gone. And I've got neighbors with 3, 4 kids, ranging from toddlers to 14-year-olds. Somebody's going to get hurt, you know. And then we got the condos up the street where the old VFW used to be. Same thing. They've got a bunch of kids, and they come flying down the street, you know, and down the not stopping at the stop sign. So just something else that, you know, if you could put that on the list and, you know, check into that too. The other thing is that as a citizen, is there any more definitive answers on the paving for the parking lot? I know you said the end of the month, but is there any kind of like set time frame?
You talking about the emergency bill?
Emergency bill,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
sorry. Yes,
Hi, sir, how are you?
hi.
Every Monday and every Friday, I speak with our project manager over there. This morning, I met with him it was this afternoon, met with him on site. We're hoping, we don't have a definitive answer, but we're hoping for the paving to take place next week. I hate to make that sound like a promise. but
No,
they're
no,
finishing
it's-
out, leveling and rolling out the sub base of gravel, hopefully within the next couple of days. The 2 days of torrential downpours didn't help us
Didn't help
too much in the lot. But, you know, we understand the frustration. We're getting to that finish line. We definitely can see it. And we're hoping to have that paved next week.
Fair enough. Another reason why I'm also asking for that is that my street, Clinton Avenue, winds up being the detour street.
Yes.
You know, I mean, sometimes I have problems pulling in and out of my own driveway, you know, because of the closures and so on. So I'd really like to just get it done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up? Is there anyone online?
Julie raised her
Oh,
hand.
yes. I'm so sorry. I didn't see you.
Julianne Lipnick. I just want to follow up with the berm across the street from our house on Infinity. If there's any more dates to finish the rest of the planting that was promised to the neighborhood. I'm here on behalf of all of them because they've been asking me and I don't have any answers. So I wanted to follow up on that.
I believe the discussion was that planting will be done like May.
May?
Yeah, you couldn't do any of the young planting, and May would be the month to do the planting for the bushes that are on the original plan.
Terrific. Also, in light of speeding, I don't know what happened, but Affinity Place really was never a speed zone, but he certainly has become one. And it's just amazing. We get a lot of kids coming down in cars and heckling and screaming at people. It's amazing. I would say the last 2 months, it's really shown a lot of color of sorts. So not much can do, but it's also joined the pack rack of speeding areas. I don't know if Laura Rifkin is listening, but if she is, I have to tell you, I've been a frequent visitor to the library because I ditched my computer and my printer now that I really don't need one. So I have been a frequent visitor to the library. And she has really and truly developed a top-notch establishment at our library. It's something really and truly to be proud of. More and more every single day that I'm there are more young kids, young moms there with their children. I've even seen women my age just sitting, hanging out, and reading a book with a cup of coffee. It really is wonderful to see people using that facility as much as they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment?
Can I just make a quick comment
Sure.
about the library? Laura didn't put it in my report, but since you bring it up, it triggered in my head. Last week, we had an event for the library for everyone who had over 20 years of service, all the volunteers to the library. About 12, 13 people got awards from the library for having over 20 years of service. So it was a really nice event, and it shows that, volunteerism is alive and well in the township. So, yeah, I'm sure she would have put it on next month's report, but since it happened on April and you triggered my memory, I just wanted to put that out there.
No problem, thank you. Okay, so just a gentle reminder that please keep the conversations to a minimum, if at all, while people are speaking, because it's difficult for the clerk to hear. Okay. Good. Hello?
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, Joseph Scalia, 813 Woodruff Boulevard East. Hope everyone's doing well. Want to thank Mr. DiCarlo for his follow-up. I believe since he's joined the council, we've been having a lot of follow-ups, so I want to thank him in advance. Just want to raise two quick topics. Along with the reduction of speed limit on Pascack Road, just a reminder, potentially adding 2 crosswalk lighted signs on East Ridgewood Boulevard intersection, which is a crosswalk, and Amherst also. These are the 2 locations between Seasons and Macquarie that do not have either a crossing section or a stoplight. So we can just add that also, Mr. Carlo. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all your follow-up. Number 2, in regards to 450 Pascack, I know that will be coming up. If there's still room for members to join the session next week, I would love to raise my hand to be added to that. If it's too late, I understand, but I would love to provide some additional input if needed. I do have a son that attends Washington School and also would love to provide some feedback. Thirdly, in regards to 450, I recently took a walk on the memorial side of the field. And if you can imagine the entrance where Memorial Field is today, coming in and then connecting to the 450 property and going upwards to the school, it's easily, we have the ability to add at least 12 to 15 parking spots on both sides of the property. Also connecting it with a U-shaped exit and then coming down onto 450 outside of Pascack Road. So looking at the property, it's easily that we could add approximately 30 parking spots and have plenty of room for parents to drop off children. So there's a great potential to alleviate a tremendous amount of stress on School Street, potentially allowing 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders to go through that entrance. And we also connect the 450 property upwards to the upper parking lot of the school area. And this would be a great way as we move forward. So I know Ms. Morgan mentioned that, the council is taking ideas. So if you can imagine the entrance that we currently have to Memorial being the entrance, and then creating another exit onto Pascack Road, there could be easily 30 parking spots and the ability to create an area where parents could drop off, pick up, and we could divide the school zone into 2 sections, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade on School Street, and 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the property that is now 450. So I want to thank you, and we look forward to hearing more from the grant writer and seeing what's potential and possible for this land, and hopefully making a safer area for our children. Thank you, and I really appreciate everything you're all doing.
Thank you.
Council President, did you catch his name?
It's Mr. Scalia,
Mr. Scalia.
Joe Scalia. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to come up? You can come up.
Different subject. Ellen DeGalley. I walk my dog every day, and I always pick up after her, but I'm noticing more and more people are not picking up after their dog's waste. If they do, they drop the bag on the ground. So really, basically, what's the sense? I mean, you're picking up and you're dropping the bag. Is there an ordinance in the town with this, the dog waste? If there is,
Yes, there is.
how is it, how people in town know about it? Because more and more people are not picking up after their animal.
Yeah, we can put it on the website and do a blast so
Yeah.
that they can see it. Yeah, that kind of goes without saying. I think people who aren't picking up know they're not picking up. They're supposed to, ordinance or otherwise. I think everyone really
Yeah.
knows what they're doing or what they're not doing.
I mean, we have a beautiful town.
Mhm.
Let's keep it that way. It's not, it shouldn't be people dropping, they don't care, but, the people, the residents do. So
Right.
that's one thing. All right, thank you.
Yeah, we have one, right? Yeah, Pet Solid Waste Ordinance, Councilwoman Feeney just looked it up. Mhm. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up? Okay.
Good evening, Tommy Snee. Happy Monday to everybody. First off, I'd like to congratulate, thank, whatever other positive adjectives you want to use for the folks who did the shredding, recycling. As bad as the one we had last year, this one was just that good. So whoever ran it, you may want to hire them or take really good notes on what he or she did. Regards to the fentanyl presentation, is that the same one that was broadcast, delivered a few months back? Do we know?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I don't know if anyone else on the day knows.
Sure. The fentanyl presentation, I think we did through the MAWA Alliance. I think it was, they had, the gentleman who presented, it was an amazing presentation, even though it scared the daylights out of me. So my thought is that this is information that probably every parent in town needs to be aware of.
Was that virtual?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the
I
same
think
one?
that's the same
It's a
guy.
different one.
I think it's different because Laura did not want to do a virtual.
I think when you're going to discuss fentanyl, and especially if you're a DEA agent, it's going to be just as terrifying no matter who's saying it.
Well, I guess my point is, for all the folks that weren't able to see that one, if we're having somebody come to town, is there a way we could do it via Teams call, YouTube or something? Because it was, he covered everything from soup to nuts, and it was incredibly enlightening.
Could WCTV record it and then we could have it on the website? Is that possible?
Yeah, we can definitely ask.
Because I mean,
Talking about broadcasting it over the television, but if parents want to watch it, maybe putting it on the website would be the best option.
yeah, because I know in speaking with the woman from the library, apparently you have to sign up and it's a show up kind of a deal, which is pretty hard for a lot of people. So just a thought, because like I
That's
said,
good.
I got an awful lot out of the first one. Regarding 450, I know you're going to talk about it, but I want to kind of drop couple of niblets in your head. Last time we chatted, Mr. Pollard mentioned a specific legal maneuver, and I apologize, I didn't look it up, that he said only the town council could execute or enact. I don't recall what he mentioned, but tonight, if you can talk about, has anything been done on that by the town council? Because apparently you folks are the only ones who can do it. As you're having that conversation, can you tell us how long that would take to complete? What would need to happen to get it started? Is it something that you all just decide you want to do it? Are there limitations that will be placed on the property? Hopefully the grant writer will be able to kind of help us understand that. And do we have an idea if the $500K price that has been bantered around is still valid? Switching gears, last time we spoke, or I should say I spoke with you, the next milestone that we agreed upon for the update for the swim club, I believe was 3 to 4 months. Are we still on target for that update?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. Can you please refresh my memory for the decision-making process for who makes the initial recommendation? I believe you said it was the rec council or the rec board?
Rec Advisory Board, hence the name, advises myself and the council as to what they think should be done, but it's up to the council.
Perfect. So it goes to the Rec Advisory Board, then Town Council.
Correct.
And I believe you also mentioned that it was a private vote. I'm just going to answer a question you didn't ask, in that I would love to have you guys reconsider that proposal, that vote, process, review, announcement, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is one of the single most significant purchases our town has made. I think transparency at every level would be greatly appreciated. And I realize they're volunteers, but it would sure be nice to know who voted for what. Just my humble opinion. Tonight I drove by Memorial, which was empty. This time of year, that's kind of unusual. Lacrosse, softball, baseball, and soccer games have been postponed for the last few days. Rescheduling those games is going to truly be a nightmare for all of those coaches. I ask you once again to figure out, to see if there's a way where we can expedite doing something with the swim club, refurbishing Memorial Field. I beg each of you this week, I'm giving you all a homework task. I beg each of you to find a coach or a few coaches that do lacrosse, baseball, softball, or even dragon soccer, and ask them if they think we have enough fields and if they think the drainage at those fields are extraordinary. On a personal note, we just got noticed over the weekend that my oldest daughter's softball team will be playing in 3 separate multi-day softball tournaments. Boy, how cool would it be if we could have one of those here? A Friday night, Saturday, Sunday afternoon tournament. Think about the exposure we could get to the town, exposure we could get for our athletes, the opportunity to make a few nickels on a concession stand, but just to be one of the tournaments. One of the tournaments the girls are going to be playing, and apparently we've never won. And it's kind of the golden goose that we're all chasing. Boy, would it be fun to have a tournament that has that kind of history, that kind of reputation within the area. And I'll leave it on a happy note. Lastly, I want to wish a very happy early Mother's Day to all the moms on the dais.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Steve, thank you very much. I agree with you 100% about the rescheduling. We've had similar issues with my daughter's softball. Rescheduling is going to be quite interesting, actually, timing-wise. We've already had some 8 o'clock games to do rescheduling, and a bunch of 10-year-olds at 8 o'clock is not always a good sight. So, yeah.
Or the next morning.
Or the, yeah, it's like they eat a Red Bull and you're not going to give them one. Sorry. The other thing I'd like to say is we absolutely do need fields. And tournaments would be a big revenue generator for the town and also exposure. We have a lot of really talented athletes in this town who could use the exposure going forward for high school, college, for their future, for scholarships, just for training facilities in general. 110% I'm on board with you and getting those fields up and running. And if, any ideas to help with rescheduling, I'll let you know or reach out to the baseball softball board. But thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you. Come up.
With that. Mike Proto, somewhere in Washington Township. I don't have to say the address. Just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on the cars going by fast around the school zone on Pascack. I believe it is 25-mile-an-hour school zone. And I appreciate the beefed up law enforcement at the school in terms of the traffic and everything like that. But I don't think I've ever really seen them enforcing the speed there. So just one little suggestion, maybe they need to get out there and start checking speeds.
I agree. When Mr. Scalia brought it up, I said the same thing. It's the school zone is 25 miles per hour, but the rest of Pascack, I think, is 30. He would like
Sure.
30, which makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to that. I think Joe's ideas are great. I'm all on board with that. But I just wanted to make the one point
Yep,
that I never
agreed.
see enforcement.
All right. Noted.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come up?
Bob Stickle, could I just approach the dais and pass these out? I think
Sure.
it'd be easier. I just want to, before I start, thank Tom and the VFW for the great donation they made to the Board of Education. I think that should be made public. I want to thank Councilwoman Feeney of bringing up a suggestion I brought up back a few meetings ago. The impact from the Board of Education, the average house in Washington Township is $466,000. So we'll see an increase of about $278 in our school taxes. On the other side, the average assessed house in Westwood is $442,000, and they're going to see a decrease in their school taxes of $423. You can see on page 2 there, the allocation's never been really even. It ranges from 52 to 53%, the allocation of Westwood, to 47% for the Township of
I'm going
Washington.
to just ask you guys to please keep it down so that we can hear the speaker.
On page 3 there, you can see, I know the state does they do an equalization if they don't have good numbers. With that equalization, the difference in the net evaluation taxable in our township went up about 0.2%. And the business administrator in the Board of Education said that that's representing increase in valuation due to changes in assessment based on adjusted property values, which is done by the state. On the other hand, in the borough of Westwood, the net valuation tax table went up 6.3%. So I may be wrong with this because even though I have a finance major, it's not in municipal taxes, but it looks like their values went up 6.3%. And I don't know why there'd be such a discrepancy because the towns are basically the same. And the reason they gave there is that the borough of Westwood experiences a higher increase in valuation stemming from the rolling reevaluations, which aligns the property values from current market values. Okay. And I know there's a cost to do a reevaluation, but I think, you really need to start looking at, and I may be wrong with this. I will leave that up to the tax assessor who is knowledgeable of this, but it looks like, even last year when the Board of Ed taxes didn't really go up because they had $2.5 million surplus because they were closed for COVID. In Westwood, they got $73 back and we got about $14 back. So, this is really, really a huge impact on the thing. So I encourage you at least to look at it. And I know Councilwoman Feeney brought that up, but I think it really needs to be looked at. I don't know if there's any way to even estimate this. There may not be, but I think it's something we got to look at because we're getting killed every year. So
One second. I believe we have Sarah on the online. So if you have any direct questions that you would like for her to answer.
I'm just curious what her thoughts are on this. That's all.
Okay. Sarah, if you can.
Absolutely. Hi, good evening. I'm Sarah Holbing, Tax Assessor Township. So what happens is, as you mentioned, is the net taxable value is equalized utilizing the director's ratio. So the Township of Washington, their ratio is 77.94. So that's applied to the net taxable value, equaling the true value. I know that is what's utilized for the school. I don't know the rest of the calculations. I don't have a hand in that. Now, when you compare Westwood, yes, they're doing an annual equalized. Their ratio is 94.49. So both towns are getting equalized. It's just depending upon where their ratio at. I hope that answers a little bit of what you're looking for.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, if we did a reevaluation, would it swing the other way, or would our increase?
No, so if you're doing a reassessment, that your ratio would be closer to 100%. So we'll just say, let's just say, or sake, it's 100. You do a reassessment, the director's ratio comes out, it's 100%. Your net taxable value won't need to be equalized. Your net taxable value equals that true value.
So would ours be higher, then therefore we wouldn't be paying the burden of taxes with the school?
I don't know what the value would be, because I can't foresee the future as to what the market is at that point in time if we do one. But I just know that your true value would be closer to your net taxable value. So there would be less of the equalization.
So why do you feel there's such a discrepancy that Westwood would get a reduction of, on their average house, of $423 and ours is going up $278? There's got to be a reason for that.
Right, so I know the total aggregate in value in Westwood did increase. So that is helping the tax rate to decrease. At the end of the day, the town's budget is the town's budget. The way they get there is the amount collected from the net aggregate and then the tax rate. So depending on the budget and how you get to that number, will bring you there.
So it's still an open question. I need a clearer answer. I'm sorry.
It's not easy to get a final answer. I'm trying to take a test house, kind of like a test value house, to see if it can be worked out, and it's not. Sarah can tell you, and I can tell you, I'm an accounting major. It's not as easy as it looks. So I'm still working on it to see which direction would be best, but I hope to get to an answer. Maybe unless Sarah's helping that. But even taking a test house or two test houses, it's still not always concise, because it depends on also how the budget changes and the increases, and there's capital improvements versus non. So.
Okay.
And I believe Councilman Sears.
Just something that Bob hit on. Sarah, we had this discussion about a rolling evaluation that Westwood actually does. And it sort of seems like when they do a rolling evaluation, they're paying less school taxes than we are. Now, when I asked you if we could start this, you told me we have to do a full 100% evaluation the first year, and then following years, we could do a rolling evaluation. Would that help us to reduce our school tax?
That'll help keep your net taxable value close to the true value.
Okay.
And that's what
That's her story. She's sticking to it. She said that 5 times.
Right.
No, but that's what like the test house might tell you, because like I think, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but the rolling is typically 15 to 20% of the town per year over 5 to 6 years, right?
Right. So what happens is everybody in the town gets reassessed according to the market, but only a certain percentage, whether it's 20% or 25%, gets an attempt for an interior inspection. So first year 1, everybody gets inspected and everyone gets assessed with the new value. Years 2 through 5, 25% of the town gets an attempt for an interior inspection, but everyone gets assessed based upon the market.
Just seems, I'm just confused by the fact that, we have about 9,000 residents. They have about 10,000 residents. So they probably have more homes, probably have more kids in the school system. And there's almost, when you look at their discount to ours, it's almost $600 difference. I mean, it would be great to get a $400 lower in our taxes. And this has been going on for years. So, yeah.
What I'd like to do, because this probably doesn't fall into Sarah's area of just being the assessor. What I'd like to do is reach out to the acting superintendent, see if they can point us to the right person, since this is a school budget and it's in their documents as to how, and maybe we can get a more definitive answer from the school, and then we'll make it public to count also.
Could you include Sarah with that discussion?
I will include anyone and everyone.
It's probably Mr. Rosado, because he's the business administrator. He does the budget for the school. So,
Yeah. All right, we'll do what we can to get it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. You can come up.
My name is Nicole Vogel. I won't say my house number, but I live on Ridgewood Boulevard East. I was here a few meetings ago to discuss the speeding on our street also, and I know some other residents have the same issue on their streets. Just over the weekend with the rain and stuff, you could hear the traffic obviously a lot more when it's like that. And the speed at which these cars were going while it was raining was scary, honestly. And it creates also a noise, when that happens, obviously. So my daughter's bedroom is in the front of our home. I went in there to check on her because she had woken up, and I'm like, it sounds like we're on a highway, and I mean, it's just really unsafe, honestly, at that point, because if something happens, you're going to somebody's front yard. There's nothing blocking you from going off the road into somebody's house. So I know Chief Skinner, we were emailing with Chief Skinner, so if there could be an update on that. And then I also thought about when the swim club does become recreational use, there's going to be even more traffic on our street, which I'm happy. It'll be for, use for our residents, but it'll be even more traffic. So just something to look into also coming down the road. Second topic was for 450. I know you guys are going to discuss it. I do have to excuse myself. I have to get home, so I'll watch on YouTube. But something that stuck in my brain was the mayor said during the budget meetings, it was on the agenda for like years and years and years. And in that same time, I had an electrician come to my home that used to live on Ridgewood Boulevard East. He said when he was a kid, it was on the agenda back then because he saw the signs and he was like, what's going on? And I told him and he started laughing. So he said it's been an issue for a long time. So, I hate to see it keep becoming an issue. And because it could benefit our town in a lot of ways, I just hope that there's a resolution on it sooner than later. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Come up.
Mary Ann Osmond, everybody knows where I live. I was going to ask, so the median value of a house is 466 and the school portion is 278 with our town portion. What is the town portion going to be for residents? How much did the
percentage or the dollar value?
The dollar value. How much is it going up in dollar?
I don't have my binder with me, I'm sorry.
I don't either.
I know.
Do you? 232?
So 232,
For 462.
Hold on.
so that's 500,
I don't know.
510? And what is the county? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
County hasn't posted yet.
Yeah, but
They haven't posted it yet? Okay, so this is 810.
they're allowed to be late.
$510. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there anyone else want to come up? No? Yes? Okay.
Hi, I'm Frank Osmond.
Hi.
And I want to ask her the question about the way it's evaluated. She said Hackensack does theirs a different way than Washington Township? Westwood, I'm sorry. She says ours is on a rolling, theirs is on a more stabilized, right?
No, theirs is not a rolling.
They do a yearly, right? A yearly.
So they did an annual and then they did it rolling.
And we do an annual.
We're not, we haven't done one in, I couldn't tell you, 10 years, 15, maybe 12?
2000 and
2014.
2014.
10, yeah.
So it
10
sounds
years,
to me
9
like
years.
if we want to get equal with them as far as school budget things, then we should do a rolling one every year. then that would solve the problem where they can't say that, we got more than they did this way. Maybe it would equalize that a little more that way. Just food for thought.
At least we could compare apples to apples then, as opposed to apples and oranges.
Right, exactly. So we should do the same as them. So you're doing apples to apples.
Right.
That's all.
Sarah, can I just ask you one more time? Can you tell me the cost too of doing, go ahead, of doing the revaluation? And you said the first year we'd have to do 100%.
Right. I mean, so there's 3 different options. Did you just want me to speak about the one with the annual?
Yeah, what we have to do the other options, we'd have to do the
Do an annual first.
right, annual.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the option with a full reassessment and then what we call like a maintenance, the years 2 through 5, it'd approximately be around 230 for the first year. And
230,000.
sorry.
Okay.
And then years 2 through 5, it'd be discounted to about 60,000 a year.
Okay.
We're due, right, in the future? We're
past due.
are we past
So
due?
we're going to have I think it's on the agenda to speak more to it.
Right. But are we past due? From like a reevaluation period, Sarah?
To start this year, or do you mean in general?
In general.
Yeah, we're pretty below the standard. 85% ratio is pretty the standard. Once you go below that, it kind of shows that there's a lack of uniformity in town. Right now we're at 77.94.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But there's no set mandatory time, like many years before you have to do it again, right? There's nothing like.
No, it's more related to the ratio opposed to time that goes by.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to come up? Going once? Anyone?
Yeah, we have one more.
Okay. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Diane Grimaldi, resident of Washington Township. I just have 2 questions. First of all, I'm very glad that the styrofoam pickup is going to resume. And I was just wondering if we are going into contract with Ridgewood as was discussed at one or more meetings, or where our styrofoam will be going. And my second question is, I've been trying to find out more about the sign ordinance because I have requested a sign for a fundraiser for Pride Month. And just to make sure that I was doing everything properly, I emailed the property maintenance officer, and he directed me to speak to the subcode building official, who I emailed the building department because I don't know who that is, and I haven't gotten a response. Do I need a permit to put a Pride sign on my front lawn?
Mr. Carlo, do you want to take that?
Hi, Ms. Grimaldi. It's Mark DiCarlo. The best person to reach out for the sign permits is going to be Joe Sedicase. He's our technical assistant. I can make sure that he gets a hold of you. It's our understanding and interpretation for any sign, even a temporary lawn sign such as yours that you may only have up there for the month, still requires a permit.
Okay, so
However-
would the fentanyl, I'm sorry, Mr. DiCarlo,
That's
would the
okay.
fentanyl project sign also need a permit from every resident? Because the council spoke about that and I'm just wondering, should we all be putting in permits?
I mean, the ordinance calls for it. We reviewed it with Mr. Poller as well, and we read it. And me and the code enforcement officer read it like 6 times over. And, again, it's our interpretation that every lawn sign, whether it's temporary or permanent, needs to have a permit. So I guess the technical answer to your question is yes, they should have a permit even for a temporary sign.
It needs to be reviewed. The ordinance needs to be reviewed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. And my other question about the styrofoam program.
I agree. It
should
should be signed.
Yeah, I think that's going to be on the agenda to review the ordinance.
Desiree can answer her question
Okay.
about the styrofoam.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Grimaldi. Yes, we
Hi.
entered into a shared service agreement with Ridgewood for them to handle our styrofoam.
Okay, wonderful. I didn't see a resolution about the contract, so I was,
Yeah,
I
council
was a little
voted on it a few
confused.
meetings ago.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come up or? Okay. Motion to close public?
Wait a minute, time out.
Oh,
There was one more.
there is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. This is Michael Ullman.
Hi, Mr. Ullman.
Hello. How are you tonight?
Very good.
Excellent. I had a question about the employee handbook. And what is that guidance or is that policy? And if there is a break from the employee handbook, who has the power, excuse me, who has the power to deviate from it, and how is that power granted?
Okay, I'm going to pass that question to the administration.
I think it's best answered by the attorney, to be honest with you.
Okay. Mr. Pollard, do you want to take that? If you can, please.
Okay, so interesting questions there. Sorry, I have a little laryngitis, so you'll pardon me. But the handbook is administrative. It's the administration that has the handbook. The council does have input in terms of economics, like vacation pay and stuff like that. I don't know what you mean by deviation from or policy from. I don't know how to answer that question.
So if there is a policy that says,
off the top of my head. So if you have a specific question,
Oh, yeah,
you
he
can
was
raise
gonna-
it. I may not have an answer tonight, but
He was going to give you an example.
all right.
Yeah.
yeah, so if there's a policy on vacation and vacation is granted for employees who are not covered by a collective bargaining agreement, there's a table that speaks to vacation. If you've worked X number of years, if you're at X level, you get so much vacation. If you're granted more vacation than is per policy, who has the ability to do that and under what authority?
I really don't know what you mean in terms of if you get more vacation. That's the handbook. That's the vacation. I have no idea what the specifics are. I certainly am not going to answer it in the abstract.
Wait, it's not an abstract question. It's a very specific question. There's a policy, there's a table. If you're granted over and above that table.
Okay, so you shouldn't be granted extra vacation is the answer.
Okay.
So if somebody is granting extra vacation, I would like to know the facts surrounding it. For example, does somebody have a medical condition? Is there some other disability that came into the situation? Are there other facts that went into it? The policy is the policy, just like any other policy. And I would need to know what the specifics are, what the background are, what the facts are, what the specifics are.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. I do have an additional question. The mayor mentioned that the architect and the engineer were preparing the bid specs for the DPW. And at the moment, have they been given a budget to work within understanding that this is going out for bid, and the bid is, obviously a bid, but what is the guidance, and does it cover all aspects of the development, or is it just the building envelope?
I can take a stab at that. And please, I don't know the legal aspects of it, so please don't hold me to that. But the architect has given the council and the public an estimate as to what they think the building will cost. I must confess offhand, I don't know if that, I'm sorry. I don't know if that included the soft costs or not. I think it did, but I just can't say with 100% certainty. I'd have to look back. And then once it goes out to bid, obviously, if it comes in much higher than what the estimate was, I believe we can reject all the bids and decide what we do from that point.
And can I ask, does that estimate include the site work? Is this an all-in bid, and is the estimate, what is that estimate at the moment?
I would have to get back to you, Mr. Allman. I'm sorry. I don't want to give you a wrong answer. So I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Okay. Motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Resolution number 23-217, authorized submission of.
No, they do public hearing.
Oh,
Hearing
where's
first.
that? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Motion to open public hearing.
And, So moved.
Thanks, Casey. Hang on. Okay. Oh,
Resolution.
I'll second it.
yeah. So motion to open public comment, Daisy said.
I'll second it.
Wait, state what you're gonna be doing your public hearing on.
Do it.
Okay,
Just read the whole thing.
Okay, Bergen County Open Space Recreation Farmland and Historic Preservation Trust Fund.
Application.
Yeah, it is 464 Ridgewood Boulevard North. Improvements including totaling Phase 1 project. Motion to open. Yeah?
Participate in the public hearing.
Oh, so this one is.
Yeah, you gotta read
Yeah,
that
you gotta
too, in case somebody wants to join you just for that.
Okay. To participate in the public hearing portion of the meeting, please click on the link below to join the webinar. If by phone, star 9 to raise hand, star 6 to unmute. Okay. Okay, now, motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Jeez, second, Mr. Sears, second.
Okay.
Okay.
Favor? Aye.
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 Is there anyone?
There's no one over here.
Okay, so is there anyone that would like to come up to discuss this? Okay. And there's still no one? Okay. Okay, motion to, I guess we're going to close it.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Which one is it? Okay, authorized submission of Bergen County Open Space Recreation, Floodplain Protection, Farmland, and Historic Preservation Trust Fund application, 464 Ridgewood Boulevard North.
That's interesting.
So may I have a motion? Why?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so let's say roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. Okay. So that's the second one on that. All right, Bergen County Open Space Recreation Farmland and Historic Preservation Trust Fund, 450 Pascack Road, acquisition of land for open space conservation purposes and/or outdoor recreation facilities.
So move.
Second.
Participate in public hearing.
Yep. Don't move anything yet. To participate in the public hearing portion of the meeting, please click on the link below to join the webinar. If by phone, star 9 to raise hand, star 6 to unmute.
So move.
Second.
You can pick whoever that is. Okay, is there, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone that would like to come up? Anyone that would like to come up? Okay, well, okay. That was confusing to me. That's okay.
Lenny Sabino. I just want to inform the mayor and council, when speaking about 450, that it's a great move to buy that piece of property. We all know about the overdevelopment of our township, right? We know about that the town has not met their affordable housing requirements. And the last thing we want happening is a developer coming in, buying that piece of property, and then forcing the mayor and council to enter into an agreement that they know is not for the best of the town. And we saw it with Franklin Court, right? If you remember Franklin Court, don't know how many on the mayor and council currently voted for Franklin Court. They came before the planning board with an application, and the planning board had no authority to shoot down that development. And had we voted no, the attorney for Franklin Court told us that she would have gone to the Supreme Court of Bergen County and put a building in twice as big. So my point being is that here's an opportunity to buy a piece of property, keeping it out of the developer's hands for a price that I think is very affordable for each of the residents in this town. I think Mr. Scalia said it's like $16 per household, the cost of a McDonald's meal after the grant, right? So for $16, I'm more than happy to pay that extra in taxes each year after the grant. In addition to, I know, Ms. Morgan, we're going to be meeting with you next Monday at 6:30. And one of the solutions, that, again, as you heard from Mr. Scalia, that it could be a great, whether it's ingress, egress, or potential parking for additional school parents dropping off their kids. So I think we should do it. And I implore? I ask. Yeah, I ask.
Yeah.
I ask that the mayor and council approve the purchase of 450. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anthony Udina. I echo all his comments. You know, basically, it's very important that we preserve that property, and it'll benefit everybody. It's been something that's been a topic for, you know, past mayors way back, and you know, it would be nice for all of you to support that resolution and acquisition of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Your hand raised.
Mr. Ullman's back.
Oh.
Mr. Ullman would like to speak.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Ullman.
Yes, good evening. Can you explain?
State your name, please.
Excuse me, Michael Ullman.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you explain the restrictions on the property should we choose to accept the funds? And the reason I ask is a few of the speakers this evening talked about developing it for parking, for a pass-through or a road to the school. And I guess I'm just trying to understand why or if we can use an open space grant and then pave it over.
Okay, we have Mr. Buno here who can probably speak to the grant limitations or if there are any.
Yes, David Buono. With respect to the use of the property, it can't be developed strictly as a parking lot. It could be used as a auxiliary purpose as parking related directly to the passive and active recreational use of the property. But to just buy it and use it as a parking lot would not be acceptable. Only as an accessory use to the primary use of the property as recreation.
But if I can ask a question, so what would be an accessory use, especially if there's a proposal to pave a road from Pascack to the school and use it as a drop-off loop? So if we have a road, if we're buying it, or one of the suggestions is to buy the property, to build a road, to sort of offload some of the demand on the other streets around the school, I guess I'm just trying to understand how that plays into this application.
That would not be permissible. The primary use of the property must be for active or passive recreational use. If part of that is an area that's going to provide some additional parking, that's fine, but it cannot be used primarily to construct a road.
Okay, so I appreciate that. So, I would suggest that we don't apply for the grant because it seems to limit what we could do, especially if there seems to be such a groundswell of support to put a parking loop or some type of road so we can offload some of the demands of the local streets, School Street, and put a loop back there for drop-offs. It seems a bit absurd that we want to purchase this property to pave it. So I would certainly recommend that you don't apply for the grant, because if you do, you won't be able to use it for that purpose. And I haven't heard anything else proposed, so that would be my suggestion to the council.
The purpose of the application is to purchase it for passive or active recreational use, not for parking. That's the primary thrust of the grant. Any parking would be a small accessory use to provide access. The primary purpose, and this is covered in the deed of easement that must be recorded when we purchase the property, it's very specific as to the uses. And again, recreational, active and passive, or conservation purposes.
Okay, so there's not any part of the property. I'm sorry, Mr. Ullman, I just want to ask a question as well. There's not any part of the property then that can be used to loop around that would be covered by the grant?
The portion of the property could be used for parking or some type of roadway, but the primary purpose would be to use it for recreational or access to the recreational area.
Okay. I think okay.
So you're saying just.
And again, this would be subject to engineering and topography, things like that. So it's premature to determine exactly how the property is going to be used at this point. But that's the subject of the grant going forward, making the appropriate testing, surveying, engineering, etc., and then make a final determination as to what you're going to do with the property. And again, you can always turn down the grant if this purpose is not suitable to what your intended use was. So if we don't apply for the grant, then you're out of the game completely. But at least by applying for the grant, we have the opportunity to make a decision at a later date, whether it's workable for what you want to do with the property, connecting it to other parklands or whatever. But if we don't file the application, we don't even get that opportunity.
Just to be clear, so like Council President said, for clarity, it's 3.2 acres or whatever the size, but I think I'm getting that wrong. If we added, say, 40 parking spaces, it's not the primary use, it's an accessory use to enhance the accessibility to the field. And if we put a walkway in or some sort of a roadway or access up to into the property, that would not be a non-permitted use according to the grant. It would be okay, because it's not the primary use. It's just to allow access.
You can do anything what we're going to do with the property when we get to that point would have to be reviewed by Bergen County Open Space. They would make the final determination. Is there a valid reason for how much space you want to use for parking or an accessory road or whatever? They would make that final determination. But again,
Yeah, but
let
an
me finish.
an accessory road going east and west from Pascack Road has no purpose other than to alleviate the issues with the school. The access to the property is right there. I mean, you know, it's not like we're creating or bringing together two disjointed or unconnected pieces of property. If you think of the swim club and the was it not Clarkfield, the Gardner Field?
Yeah, Gardner, right.
And we had to connect those two. And this may not be a perfect example, but I understand a road or a path. Here, we are immediately adjacent to Memorial Field. So if we start talking about a road, I really think, you know, we're not talking about open spaces. We're talking about a road to alleviate a issue at the school. And, you know, parking, you know, 40 spots or an extension of the existing parking at the easternmost portion of that property, I certainly understand. But once you go sort of west of the clubhouse or the field house, you're basically creating a road to go to the school to eliminate a problem. And I don't see that as a complementary use.
Well, if you're purchasing the property for that use, it's prohibited. You cannot use it for access for the school. I can tell you that right now. They would deny the grant. Again, those decisions could be made later as how you're going to configure the road or parking or access and what you're going to use as passive or recreational space. It's premature. It's subject to the final design recommendations by the engineer. So again, but we don't get that opportunity, at least we get to file the application and see what is perceived by the county as a proper use of the property. Right now, those determinations aren't able to be made. But again, if you're going to buy the property and say you're going to use it for better access and turnaround for the school, grant will be denied.
And do we have a documented plan for the property at this point in time?
No, that's part of the reason we're moving forward. Those determinations are made later as to, we have no particular concept yet, only that we want to purchase the property for recreational, passive and active, and for conservation purposes. That's the thrust of this application. The actual use is a separate park development or improvement application. That's part two, assuming you get part one and are able to acquire the property. It's a phased approach like we're doing at the swim club. Last year, we purchased a swim club. Now we're in phase one development of the swim club, which includes linking the Gardner Field with the swim club with an informal path and other improvements, as well as engineering, topography, stream encroachment issues. Those things are properly develop the property in accordance with the Bergen County open space guidelines, which mirror the New Jersey Green Acres.
And can the grant be used for those purposes with the ultimate decision being that we're not going to use it for a grant-worthy purpose? So can you take the grant and spend some of the money to do that evaluation
the park improvement funds can be used for those engineering and soft costs, so to speak, survey, elevations, topography, stream encroachment, delineation, things like that. Architectural and engineering fees can be used in the application for park improvement funds, which is the other application on tonight for the former recreation swim club.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for answering.
Council President, do you want to hold questions till later when it's on the conference, or since David is up, can I throw a hypothetical?
You
quick?
can.
David, maybe to simplify this, and I'll just use round numbers. If we're purchasing 3 acres with the grant, do they say like you can use up to 20% for, make it impervious for a parking facility for the other 80% of the land if we make it passive or active recreation?
There are no specific percentages, but if there's a justification for you putting in parking and a roadway, again, that will complement the other field and link it together, that is something that Bergen County would review and say, yes, you can do it. You can increase the percentage, you have to reduce the percentage. But again, that's the park improvement phase of it, which hopefully will be next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ellen DeGalley, can we make it another field too, and then parking, because you say there's not a lot of field. Can we do that, plus have a parking area on that property? Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, I'm
yes,
sorry,
that's
because you're the grant person.
basically-
Oh, no,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry.
So yes,
yeah.
that's one of the things that they said we would be permissible is if it was like secondary parking to the primary use was a field. So that was one of the things that would be permitted.
Because I think the residents, I don't agree with Mr. Ullman, but the residents don't want overdevelopment.
Right.
It could be an apartment complex. You don't know what if a developer comes in and they can do that. I don't agree with Mr. Ullman at all. I think that he wouldn't want apartments next to his property. We would see that, and I think even having that and seeing the children, you don't know, and they're gonna look at the children, and when you have the windows, I don't like that. I think the idea with having a field and then parking, that would be.
I think, and I hope I'm not clarifying, if that's even a word, what Mr. Ullman was saying, but I think he was saying be cautious, because we've done this before, where be cautious with taking a grant, because then if we want to use it for a specific reason, we may be limited if we have to abide by the grant rules. So I don't think he was saying not to purchase the property. He was saying don't purchase it, don't get the grant for it. But that's what I thought. I don't know. I could have
But
missed.
since we don't have many fields in the town,
Right.
and there's a lot of children, and they want to enjoy their sports, put another field in there. So,
Thank you.
Can I make a quick comment on that? This is my opinion only, but anyone who's familiar with that property knows it's kind of a long, narrow strip of which the 3 acres are spread out over. I don't know that it is suitable to get a field onto that. The only thing I could see, and again, I don't know if the grant would restrict it, is if we incorporate it into Memorial Field, then perhaps we can get another field. But that property unto itself, I just don't think could support any type of field.
Is there?
Do you want to?
Again, this goes into phase 2, or rather the improvement stage. We came up with a plan where, for example, the swim club parking lot was going to be totally removed and used for a recreational field, and somehow uses other space for additional parking. You can move it around that way as part of an overall plan to develop all the properties together. That's one way you could do that.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then you have the parking lot at the swim club, which is a pretty big area. You could use that for a recreational field and move the parking to another location.
That's interesting.
And just like one more thing, again, if we don't we get the grant and we decide not to utilize it for 450, if we have another use in town, we can also do that too, correct? We can
It would have
change
to-
the measure of the use.
The relocation would have to be part of the whole application.
Okay.
We can't piecemeal it. We'd have to come up with a concept. And as I mentioned before, sometimes we have to phase these improvements. And it may take, 2 applications or whatever to get it in place. But if we have come together with the engineer and architect on a total plan, we present it and they know how it's going to be developed, you can move parking around, provided you're giving up parking to create a field and you're going to relocate it into a more feasible area.
So the primary goal is just to get the application in. The primary goal is to get the application in.
Yes.
Thank you. I have a person online.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Hi, how are you? It's Joe Scalia again. I just wanted to talk about Mr. Cassio's point. The key for a parking lot for the field would be based on the land where the house and barn are currently located. So it's not about increasing the footprint of additional areas of acreage. The goal would be to put ancillary parking for Memorial Field adjacent to the land where their home and barn currently is located. So would it exceed the property limit that's currently used for the housing of the home? And any path that can be built could be on the current Washington or Memorial property that we currently have. There's plenty of property connecting 450 and Memorial Field up to the school. So you do not need to put a road. It is a pathway for students to walk to the school and walk back down to the parking lot that would be mainly used for Memorial Field. So I think, I understand Mr. Cassio's point, but I'm not sure if he
Mr.
understands
Ullman.
the
That
aspect.
was, I'm sorry, that was Mr. Ullman.
Oh, I apologize.
Yep.
I apologize.
Mhm.
So I think the goal right now is not to put a road down from Pascack all the way up to Memorial. It's to use the current property landscape where the house and barn are there, use that for a parking lot for Memorial Field, which would be the predominant use. And then if we wanted to put a pathway from the parking lot up to the school, that can be built. It doesn't have to be built on the 450 existing property. It could be adjacent to the Memorial Field and 450 property. So we can still conserve all the other lands. We only be using approximately 100 feet wide by 150 feet long. So I would ask the grant writer if that would be permissible to use the current landscape where the house and barn is for the parking lot adjacent to the field for field purposes, and then a pathway on Memorial Field property leading up to the middle school and preserving the additional land for conservation with a grant. Thank you.
You can answer him. Mhm.
That's possible, but again, that is premature. The final determination would be the subject of the next phase as to what best meets the needs of that property, and in terms of other properties, removing the parking and having it on this other parcel. But again, that's putting the cart before the horse at this point. Those determinations are being made once we get to the concepts phase, and we're nowhere near that yet.
Thank you. Sorry, 2 people, right?
Yeah, we have one more.
Okay. Right. Hello? So, is anyone there? Hi.
Yep. Hi, Diane Grimaldi, resident in Washington Township. I just want to ask about Mr. Sabino's statement that we have not met our affordable housing quota yet. I believe we have met our affordable housing quota at this point.
Yes.
And a few more units. Okay, I just wanted to
Yes, we have.
clarify that
We
Because
have.
Mr. Sabino said that we have not.
No, we have.
Okay. And we don't know what the next round's going to be in 2025. If there's going to be another, with all the overbuilding going on, I'm hoping that the state takes everything away at this point. I just wanted to clarify that and make everybody aware that we have met our quota and then some.
We have a judgment of repose.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Can you explain what that is, Mr. Pollard, for those of us who are not familiar with that term?
Excuse me?
What you just said, judgment of repose.
Oh, what is that?
Yes, can you explain that?
Yeah. Okay. So as part of the COA litigation, and the case that was before the court, the affordable housing developments in town, the overlays and Franklin Court, met our current COA affordable housing obligations. So we cannot be sued for a builder's remedy, or we should prevail in any kind of a suit, because the judgment from the court was that we have met our burden, and that judgment of repose, that's what it's called, lasts until 2025, when there's the next phase of COA to be looked at. And nobody knows what that means, and nobody knows what's going to happen. But that's what was meant by the judgment of repose.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anyone else that's stand up? Lauren? Hello? Hi, is anyone there?
Laura Sinclair. Good evening.
Hi.
I'd like to mimic a lot what Mr. Scalia spoke about, and it would be advantageous to purchase and hopefully utilize the grant 450. This is an opportunity that we may never have again. We can have concession stands for the field to bring our standards up to other towns. We can also have parking. We have found that it's truly a safety issue to have parking. We need that, especially with what had happened recently and the children running over Pascack. And to add what Joe said, we can have a walking path to the school, and it can also be educational. There could be different stops with birdhouses and talk about different insects and whatnot. It could actually add some educational basis on that open space land if there was a walking path for the children. And in addition to that, by having the open space and preserving it, we're preserving the town, we're preserving the homeowners that we're not going to get flooded out should we build on that property. Thank you. Appreciate all your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Hi, Emily Kratzer, and I'm really glad about what Lori just said, because part of that property is historic. Let's face it, it's never been developed. It's been unique since the get-go around here. Although, I don't know how many other people have actually walked back there, but when my kids were going to Washington Elementary, we went, we walked, we saw. We saw a lot of poison ivy. We saw some rotted out cars. We saw a lot of interesting stuff there. And it would be great if that grant, first off, let's get the grant. Then we'll work on some of the phase 2 through 3 details. But it would be wonderful to use that land as a science, environmental, and or recreational use at the same time. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up?
Julianne Lipnick. I certainly agree with a lot of what was said. Wouldn't want any development on that property. But the grant aside, obviously this piece of property has extreme value to council, to the town as well as to the Board of Ed, especially with the proposal coming down for the expansion of Washington School. And that alone bring more kids, more cars. So my question is, has this council met with the Board of Ed, with the superintendent, to see what their input to possibly have a joint adventure between the two entities? Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe, right, Council President, they weren't interested.
I think one of you.
Then
We were interested in hearing more of a proposal of how we could go into this together.
Yeah, and if I may.
Yep.
We're trying to get a meeting with the acting superintendent to have a more of an exchange of ideas on this. In our form of government, that's part of what administration would be doing. The council really can't reach out and negotiate on behalf of the town.
Good evening, Tommy Sneed. As the board can attest, I am not a terribly bright man. On a good day, I'm probably a lifetime C-minus student. So to say I'm a little confused based upon the things that have gone on. So I'm going to break it down to something simple that I can understand. And I don't mean to attack you. I'm just kind of, you're the man that has all the answers. There you go. There you go. So if we purchased the property and we kept it very simple, because the KISS area was named after me. If we focused on just doing a parking lot, let's just say, pick a number, 25, 30 spaces in that lot. We made it accessible for the disabled. We did paths so they could get up to the fields, all that sort of stuff. Would that be something that would violate the terms of the grant?
No.
No. So that would be something if we kept it simple and we just focused on that as kind of a phase one, if you will.
Well, it's possible. Again, it's subject to determination by the engineer.
Oh, no, completely.
It's in the realm of
But
possibility.
passing the reasonable test, that would be something that we could reasonably do. We could extend the parking lot, or even move the parking lot that we have over there.
ADA is a requirement.
Exactly. That's kind of where I'm going with this, because right now, getting from School Street onto one of those fields for someone in a wheelchair is beyond nightmarish. Or someone like my mother-in-law with a new hip and a walker, it's an exciting adventure. So my thought is, if we kept it simple, that would be something that we could implement as part of a phase one quickly and easily, assuming we get approval from the folks in, I guess, Bergen in Hackensack.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be something good possibility, high possibility, and I won't hold you to it, I promise.
So what I'm saying, again, the phase one actually is to purchase.
Right. Sorry, phase one.
But the park improvement aspect of it, that's clearly one of the permitted uses.
Right.
And ADA concerns and accessibility is clearly within the realm of use of the property.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Okay, Mike Proto again. So I just want to, like you said, keep it simple, which is the main goal obviously is to acquire the property. It has enormous value for the town, short-term, long-term, and we don't want it overdeveloped. From what I'm hearing, this is one option. There may be an option with the school board, I don't know. There may be the option to just buy it. So given that, I would say let's keep our options open. I would hope that you would unanimously support going for the grant and keeping those options open and exploring what we can do going forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Bob Stickle, I just want to say I'm in favor of moving forward with the grant. We all pay open space tax. It's very small, but we might as well get some of our money back. You could build a path. It can be a running path. It can be a bike path. It can be everything, and that would definitely meet it. I'd figure that out, and it may alleviate some of your problems with letting some of the older kids out of school. So I think we should move forward with it and get some of our open space tax funds back to this town.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. Okay, motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, authorized submission of Bergen County Open Space Recreation Floodplain Protection Farmland and Historic Preservation Trust Fund Application 450 Pascack Road.
So moved.
Second.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. Okay. So, where's the other one? Okay. Okay, so now we'll move to ordinances. Adoption, second reading, there's none. Resolution consent agenda. The following items have been determined to have unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like removed?
No, ma'am.
Motion to approve consent agenda resolutions.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, sorry. Who you want to say?
Aye.
Oh, aye. Okay.
It was a delayed aye.
Okay. Okay, adjournment to conference agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Are we actually doing this? No, we don't. Right? Okay.
I'm excused from this part of the hearing.
What's that?
I'm excused now, right?
Yes.
Because there were some other grant matters I just wanted to give you an update on
Okay.
that was also included on the agenda.
Oh, he is. You stay, actually. Stay.
What's that?
Yeah, you have a grant update. You're going to be in the conference agenda. Give us 2 minutes. Yeah, thank you.
David.
Right here,
David, yes,
right here. You can stay. Yep. Sorry about that.
It's not a closed session.
Sorry, yeah. You're 2 seconds. You're going to be.
You're almost out the door. One foot out the door.
All right, so we're moving to the conference agenda, and we're going to discuss the tax revaluation. Mr. Mayor, I believe it's you and Mr. DeCarlo.
Yes, thank you, Council President. As you know, Tax Assessor Sarah Holbig's here this evening, just to kind of just give another once-over. I guess for lack of better terms, just hoping for some guidance from council as to whether we move forward with the reval this year. Sarah is prepared to just go over our options again. I do want to say, I don't speak with the most confidence with what I'm going to say, but I did speak with my confidential informant that gave me some information on funding. So depending on which type of tax reval depends on how we fund it. So that is important too. So I guess I'd give the floor to Sarah to just kind of go over the options again, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving the benefits or the pros and cons of each. But I just wanted to let the council know that each is dependent on a certain funding source. And I can fill that in with after Sarah does her
Okay.
part.
Hi, Sarah.
Okay, thank you. So there are 3 options for a reval reassessment. The first option is a revaluation. With that, you are required to hire an outside firm to complete the entire project. This is the most costly option because you have to do a complete overhaul of your tax maps with an engineer. So that's the unknown. I've seen it range from $50,000 to $100,000 on top of the cost that you're going to pay the appraisal firm for the reval. The second option is a full reassessment. With that option, you don't need to get the tax maps overhauled, and is a hybrid work with a reval firm working alongside with me and my data. So it's not working from scratch. So you kind of have the groundwork done to start the reassessment. And that's just a one and done. The third option is a reassessment, 100%, followed by a annual, what we call maintenance for years 2 through 5. With that, it does cost a little less upfront for year 1 for 100%. And then the years 2 through 5, everyone will still be getting reassessed. It's just the portion of properties that are getting an inspection is where that percentage comes from. That I would recommend the last option, the option with the full reassessment followed by maintenance. With that, you don't have to worry about, the ratio dropping and then having to do a complete overhaul and paying out of pocket the larger amount. You're always going to keep your ratio at 100%. You can make the changes according to the market, whether they're upwards or downwards. Maybe different segments are doing better opposed to, one other area of town. You're able to capture that data. As an assessor, my hands are tied if a whole market of town declines or increases. I can't just make changes due upon that. I have to have a reassessment or reval in order to capture those changes. So those are really the 3 options that we have. As mentioned, again, the most expensive is going to be the 1-year revaluation and then work downwards.
All right, Mr. Sears, Councilman Sears has a question.
Hi, sir. Option 3, if we do the 100% and then we follow up with the 2 and 5, what actually gets evaluated on the next 2 and 5 years? Is it new building permits, new homes, or do you go back and you start reevaluating, say, zone 1 again?
Okay, so it gets a little confusing with that part. So it's years 2 through 5. The entire town is going to get reassessed based upon the market. The only thing that percentage applies to is inspections.
Okay.
So after you do years 2 through 5, so year 1 is what's actually 6. So year 1 is year 1. Well, you got 2 through 5. So after year 5, do you have to do 100% again, or does it go back to it? So we will never have to do 100% of the town at one time. We will always
Exactly.
The 20.
You're absolutely right. Correct.
So the even though the cost for the one time is high, in the long run, do you foresee that this saves us money in the long run for doing the reevaluation?
Absolutely, because you're still reassessing the entire town, keeping it at market. It's just you're maintaining based on the inspections with that.
In the 20 or 25%.
Right.
During the years 2 through 5, but then starting in year 1, when it starts over, it'll be the whole town over 5 years will be re-inspected.
Correct. Yes. Actually, just I'm doing that in Westwood. I'm also the assessor in Westwood, and we're going into the 8th year actually. So that's the plan we followed. It was year 1, 100%, year 3 to 5, 25. And the new contract came in and now it's 20% over 5 years. So you never have to start over with that lump sum due in year 1.
And just one follow-up question. Do you find with your experience in Westwood that this has the best long-term benefit, especially with new developments coming in and houses being redone and new property taxes being assessed on improvements?
Absolutely. Because you're maintaining that 100% ratio. Right now there's a lot of new homes or renovations in Washington. And, since we're at a 77.94% ratio, you kind of got to equalize what that value is using that ratio. So you may be losing value in town because you can't change those values to 100% unless you have a reassessment or revaluation, or else that's spot assessing. So I see sales coming in, 50%, 60%. I can't change those values to meet that sale price. And the same way reversed, if those sale prices drop and we're over those sale prices, I can't change those assessments. My hands are tied. It's spot assessing. It's against the law in Jersey. The only way for me to reconcile all those changes and keep the market is with a reassessment and reval. So it definitely is a positive thing. Thank you. You're welcome.
Sarah, I have another question.
Sure.
On the 2 to 5 years, can you give me a rough estimate on how many households will go up, stay the same, or go down? How's that based on?
So it's still based upon the market. So it all depends upon what that area in town is seeing with sales. I can use an example for Westwood, if you'd like, just to kind of give you an idea what I see that in year 7, what we did, about 60% of the residential property saw a tax decrease before budget increase. Despite the whole town increasing in value, again, you're still collecting the same amount of money. We still saw people decrease in their property taxes. So it's all depending upon the market in that particular neighborhood of what direction the taxes will go, and of course the budget.
Okay, another follow-up question. If your taxes go up, you still have the capability of appealing them, right?
Absolutely. Right. So you're appealing your assessment. You can't appeal your taxes. You can appeal your assessment.
Your assessment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So yes, absolutely. Just the only thing that changes is that you have an extra month to file. So instead of April 1st, you have until May 1st to file.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Sarah, if the idea is to get to 100% and Westwood is doing this yearly, why are they operating at 94.9%?
So the director's ratio, it does utilize past years. I don't have the exact formula that comes from the county. They are utilizing the current sales, and then they also use like prior years. So I'm not quite sure what the formula comes to be. So I don't have the exact answer as to what's changing that. But as far as the ratio and defending appeals, when you're in a reassessment, you're utilizing 100% regardless of the director's ratio being at 94.
So it's common to be not exactly at 100, but just shy of it.
Right, correct.
Okay. So we wouldn't stay at 100, we're close to it. Because if they're doing it every year, we're still at 94.
Right.
Council President, can I ask Sarah a question?
Yes.
Hi, Sarah, it's Mark. A couple months ago, and I don't know if the council probably doesn't have it in front of them, but we provided them with just a very rough estimate that you put together based on the different options, the reval, the complete reassessment, and the complete assessment, followed by the 4-year reassessment.
Right.
You had suggested possibly 300,000 for the reval, and then possibly 50 to 100,000 for the tax map revision.
Right. So the 300,000 is just for the appraisal firm. And then on top of that, you'd have to pay an engineer for a complete overhaul of the tax maps.
So 400,000. And then on the complete reassessment, if I'm understanding it right, the first year is going to be roughly 230. Again, we know it's an estimate.
Right.
And then 60,000 each year for the following 4 years.
Correct. As an estimate.
So I guess, is the first option truly the most expensive then? I mean, just basing that this is just an estimate, the reval possibly 400 compared to the yearly one for 470. Am I doing my math right?
Right. But the first option for the revaluation is the most expensive for upfront 1 year. The last option, it tallies, but that's over a 5-year span.
Okay. And then, council, what's interesting is getting Sarah's perspective as the tax assessor likes option 3. And then in speaking to a neighboring, the fellow administrator in a neighboring town, they liked the revaluation, which was interesting. It might be because of the funding source. But Sarah, would you know, I didn't clarify with him why he liked that reval, but do you have any, other than the cost, would you have any insight as to why you think that is?
That someone would like a revaluation?
Yeah, like an administrator of a town would pick that over.
I mean, I honestly don't know why they would choose that one, to be honest with you. I mean, right now, just in Bergen County, 47% of the municipalities in Bergen are doing the annual. So, and that's only because only 47% of towns are actually in the process. The rest of the towns aren't doing anything. They're not doing a reassessment or reval. So everyone's really leaning to this option because it enables the assessor to keep all the values at market value instead of waiting for them to drop and have to do large tax shifts throughout the town. So I don't really know why someone would honestly want to do a revaluation, a one and done, because at that point, God forbid you do it, the market completely tanks, or vice versa. Now you're back to square one in the ratio, and you're going to have to put out the money again for a one and done year.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Think about it that way.
Yeah, if it tanks, you don't know.
I mean, you're right. I mean, with the volatility in the market, even today, I mean.
All right, so you're basically looking for guidance, right? So you need us to let you know if we would like to move forward with it?
Well,
Correct.
but I guess, can I go over the funding information?
Oh, sure.
So,
Mark, I just have a quick question for Sarah, if that's okay, Desiree?
Mhm.
Sarah, apart from it being state law, so you may not even know the answer, why is a new tax map required on only one of the options? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why that's part of the guideline for a revaluation. Yeah, I can certainly find out for you from the state for an exact reason for that.
It's just a curiosity question.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can find that out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. President.
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
No, I didn't understand that either. Like, if you're doing a real evaluation, why wouldn't the tax map be adjusted every
Right, no matter which option.
Right,
Yeah.
whichever, right.
And especially with the new developments coming in, wouldn't we have to do the tax? I mean, Sarah, don't we, because the new developments are coming in, we're gonna have to do part of the tax map anyway, aren't we?
But you could do it by sheet though. Like you could update, instead of doing the entire map, we could just do that particular sheet of the map.
Okay, thank you.
Sarah, I have a question with option 3, with the reassessment in 4 years. So the first year, we're going to reassess everyone, right? An outside reassessment. No one goes into their homes to do anything. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So years 2, 3, 4, and 5, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, right? That's 4 more years. So you're going to take a quarter of the town and go into their homes, right?
Correct.
Is that correct? So if you're in that first zone, your taxes will be different than the ones that did not go in. Is that correct?
No, that's
How does
the
that- how does that work?
misconception. That's the misconception. So regardless if you're visited or not, for that 25%, you're still getting assessed based upon the market. Because at the end of the day, the reassessment's market driven. It's just that percentage applies to whether or not you get another inspection for an interior.
Another inspection. Okay. So basically, you're doing inspections for improvements in those homes. Is that correct?
Right. So correct. There's going to be another attempt for that interior, that second round. But regardless of whether or not you got inspected in year 2, 3, 4, or 5 for that second time, you're getting reassessed every single year based upon the market.
Sarah, suppose they don't want you in their house. How do you assess?
So they get estimated at the highest potential value.
So they could look at your house and say, I think you have 3 bathrooms because you didn't let me in.
Right, because you're not trying to penalize people who are letting you in. You want to put everything at the highest value with the assumptions instead of, give the benefit of the doubt, calling everything old compared to somebody who let us inside and we got the accurate data. Part of the process would include multiple attempts to the house, as well as sending out an additional letter to people who did not let us inside the home to try to get in again. And then when we send out value letters indicating the new value for that tax year, they'll have another chance to let us in. So there's going to be numerous opportunities for people to let us inside. And I know nowadays we also offer contactless interior inspections utilizing video conference.
And then what's the timeline from like the initial, if we go with option 3, Is it 6 months? Is it a year to do the entire town? What's the standard time?
So typically, it's always as of October 1st of the pre-tax year. So let's, for argument's sake, it's for 2024 tax year. Everything's based upon the market as of October 1st, 2023. So value letters to all the property owners, they usually go out towards the end of the year, maybe December. And then the values get submitted to the county somewhere between January and sometimes they extend it to March, depending.
Can I ask another question, Desmond? Sarah, as a follow-up question, I'm sorry to be stuck on the tax map.
It's okay.
Even though options 2 or 3 is not mandated, would you suggest we do them anyway based on the age of our existing tax maps?
I would not do a complete overhaul. I would say go through, and if there was particular pages that needed to be updated, that would be the best and more, I think, cost efficient way than just, putting it out for the entire map to be revamped. I don't know that it's 100% necessary since the last one was done in 2014.
Okay, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'll look at you. Chair. All right. Anyone else? Any other comments?
Long day.
No.
Funding source.
Oh, that's it?
I just
Oh,
wanted
yours
to,
is- okay,
update
go
you on the
ahead.
funding source. So the way it was explained to me today, and I most certainly will go back to the drawing board to become more confident on, but the only option that could be funded outside of the budget, since we've already introduced it, would be the one-year tax reval. It was explained to me that the other option, especially the complete reassessment followed by the 4-year yearly, has to be done within the budget. So again, the tax reval, it would be an authorization by the council by a resolution for a 5-year special emergency, meaning the funding source would not come through taxation or the current budget. It would either come from surplus, or if we didn't have enough of the surplus, we'd have to go, we'd have to borrow the money. So that's what you'd be authorizing. And we would have 5 years to pay it back. That's how it was explained to me. So the tax reval, we'd be able to pay it back over 5 years. We would not have to raise the money through the current fund with the budget. However, the other ones, we would have to. And that's, judging based on the interest of the council, it sounds like most of the interest would be on the complete reassessment. So if that is in fact true, then we'd have to wait until 24 to put it into the budget for 25.
You're saying the third option.
The third option, any option other than the 1-year tax reval. But it doesn't sound like anybody's interested in
So
that
you
middle option.
can't do the 1-year tax revaluation, which we have to do anyway, and then move to a rolling assessment. You have to put into a plan that this is what you're gonna do in order to pay for it from like a municipality financial perspective. Is that what you're saying?
That's how it was explained to me. Again, I could certainly, go back to figuring, I don't know if that would be our
So
bond
yeah.
counsel or our financial advisor, but that's how it was explained to me that.
We have to do the 1 year regardless. What difference does it make if we do 1 year and then we do rolling for 2 through 5, right? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, again, from what I hear, the only difference would be if you do option 1 as the first thing, you then have to redo the tax maps at another $100,000 of
Right,
expense.
that's true.
Yeah,
Something seems odd there.
it's state law.
Well,
That's the problem. How much do we have in surplus if we wanted to go through surplus?
$29.95.
Off the top of my head, it should be around, I'm afraid to throw out a number, but it should definitely be north of 1.8. The money would be there to do it.
what was the cost
And
of
then-
that roughly?
I'm sorry?
It's $230 up front and that's $60K a year.
So you have one.
230 plus 240, so.
So again, I hate to, balance, I guess we're balancing the best option, which is the reassessment every 4 year, the rolling one in comparison to the 1 year, but we have a funding source for it. So
Yeah, I'd like to firm up that surplus number. So I don't think we need a decision tonight, but, Mark has some homework to do, and I would just add that onto the list.
It's on our annual financial
Right.
statement. It's there.
Yeah.
I can certainly.
And if you don't mind if I just say one thing, I don't think that it necessarily, it has to be put on for 24. I think in the sense of timeliness and to have it done efficiently, because since he still has to put it out to bid and everything, I think 2025 tax year might be, during 2024, but for 2025 tax year opposed to this year for 24 tax year might be a little more better with timeliness as far as trying to, getting up to bid and contracts and then actually starting the project. Since it's already May, I think it might be good for that timeline.
That's helpful. Thank you.
So we have time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, hopefully Mark and I can get the meeting with the school superintendent to find out more about how that affects what we pay versus Westwood pays, and have that answer as part of the
Great.
decision process also.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. All right, yes, so now we're gonna move to, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, have a good night.
You too, bye-bye.
Okay, now we're gonna move to grant updates by David Buno. Sorry for the wait. Thank you for hanging with us.
Thank you. Let me preface this by saying that at the end of the month, I'll be submitting my formal quarterly report for the first meeting in June.
Okay, great.
So, but I just want to give you a few updates because I was asked to look into some other grant matters in the interim. First of all, I owe an apology to Mr. Sears that I intended to meet with him on a forestry grant, which kind of got put on the back burner because of the drug-free community grant, which was very voluminous and time-consuming to get done. But I will be meeting with him and the Green Team next week to review that.
I'll accept the apology, Tony.
Thank you. But I do like meeting at Tony's. With regard to, there was a grant for detention cells for the police from the Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance. The municipality does not qualify for that. It's really for county jails and state prisons. Okay.
Okay.
Today, the Department of Community Affairs announced resiliency grants. I haven't had a chance to examine them completely, but I will cover them in my next report. Also, Governor Murphy announced an additional $100 million in recreation grants. Now, I'm happy to announce, I don't know if it's been passed on to you, but the local recreation grant that we filed for 2022 for improvements to the swim club, we were awarded $70,000, which we can use as part of the 50% match for the park improvements of that project. So which means we go down to, I think it's about $255,000 now in the cash match from the $350. The official list was published about 10 days ago. Now we have to go through SAGE with the mayor to sign off on the grant agreement, various other things. But that definitely helps on the park improvements of phase one. There was also municipal aid grants that came out. Those are historically done by the engineer. I discussed them with John Yakovlevich, and he's recommending that we go after the discretionary grant that's due June 1st. That used to be a rolling application, but now the state tightened it up and it's going to be June 1st. He will be doing most of the application. I'll assist him as needed.
What is that grant for? Which one was that?
He's talking about putting sidewalks by the school.
Oh.
We could use the grant for that.
Council President, don't
Okay.
get excited now. we're not applying for it. It's just an option that I had told you about
Okay.
in preparation of going for the meeting.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about that grant.
No, he's just updating you that.
Okay,
that was
okay,
one of the
okay,
options.
okay.
Crisis averted.
Well, there are a lot of things that I'm asked to look at and whatever that aren't reflected particularly in the report, but
Okay.
I try to give a comprehensive view of everything that's going on. I know, for example, that, and it came up earlier tonight with Councilmember Sears about equipment, playground equipment. Now, there's a company called Game Time, which I've used in other municipalities. They're a state vendor that we can purchase the equipment through, so you don't have to worry about bidding. And they do have ADA compliant playground equipment. The benefit of using them, they also offer a minimum grant of $25,000, which you can apply towards the purchase and installation of that playground equipment. I have more information on that in my report, and I discussed it with the township administrator.
And it can be specific playground equipment just for later reference and not an entire set?
No, it would be they have sets, whether you want to buy just an apparatus or
Like, okay,
springs,
great.
whatever, they have
Yeah. Like
a
piecemeal,
whole
okay.
thing. I'll provide you the business administrator with the brochure.
They were down at the league. They're very reputable and they have everything you could.
Oh, no, I knew they had, but I meant like, would the grant not apply if you didn't buy the whole,
I think you could probably piecemeal everything.
Okay. I also want to clarify, at the last meeting I was at, Councilmember Sears mentioned that we were going to get a grant of $95,000 from Bergen County on the library project. First of all, I want to thank you for making me the alternate member on the committee now, because I was at the meeting 2 weeks ago. And I've learned a couple of things, how it operates here differently than another county where I'm also on a committee there. The $95,000 that was quoted to you, we had followed an application for about $124,000. Of that, only $95,000 qualified for the grant. The other $20,000 change were basically soft costs, which they did not allow. They did that in the past, but HUD, which controls the community development funding, has dramatically reduced it, and the amount that was allocated to Bergen County. So the allowable cost would have been $95,000. However, based upon the allocation that came down, a portion to the municipalities that showed up, and let me just regress for a moment. If I didn't go to that meeting, automatically our application is discarded. If you don't attend that meeting where the allocations are discussed, negotiated, whatever, you're right off the list. So based upon that, our initial allocation was $29,000. Now, some horse trading and whatever, negotiating, reviewing other applications, and quite frankly, I was, as part of my responsibility in advocating for this township, some other applications were knocked out. When the day was done, our actual grant will be $88,000.
Wow.
Okay, which is,
Nice.
okay. There is also some discussion about the current rescue boat for the fire department, which is really in bad shape and being discarded. With the assistance to firefighter grant this year, back in late February, I applied for $45,000 for a new boat, trailer, engine, and wet water gear, rescue gear. I also applied for $54,000 for SCBA that has to be replaced. That's beyond the 10-year OSHA guidelines and the fire code guidelines. Okay, as I said, the $70,000 was awarded. The grant for $125,000 for the drug-free community was filed also. We probably won't hear from that probably into the summer. And I just want to say that grant, I've won it several times in other municipalities. as with other grants, sometimes we may have to apply again. We could get it the first round, but clearly, once we're in it now, if we don't get it, we file immediately in the next round, which would be in about 6 months. But I just want to put that out there, because I didn't meet with Laura Rifkin, who would basically be the program manager, which is a part-time position, and we would have to hire a full-time grant coordinator. There's a matching funds requirement of $125,000. However, the police officers who serve on the municipal alliance right now more than cover the match. So that would be an in-kind match. So there would be no out-of-pocket expense to the municipality for that grant if we win it.
Excellent.
Okay. With regard to Tropical Storm Isaias, which goes back 3 or 4 years. It took me 2 years to finally get all that paperwork filed, and we're entitled to $138,000 reimbursement. And it's been delayed, as it turned out, and as recently as today, I got a response. I could not get an answer out of New Jersey Office of Emergency Management. This grant was filed with the federal government under FEMA. They approved us for this money. Then it goes to NJOEM under the state police, and they take a little bit off the top and then send us the money. Well, this was approved back in October, and since that time, I've been trying to get it turned over to us. As it turns out, the person who was handling this particular application reimbursement is no longer with the state police. A new person was recently appointed, and based upon an email that I got today, we should know hopefully in about 2 weeks when we're getting the money. However, the reason that happened, again, this is what I do beyond just doing the application, which always says is the easy part. I actually, between emails and phone calls, I could not get a return call. I called the superintendent of the state police, left word with his administrative assistant what the situation was, and lo and behold, I got a call from the person in the section that they're working on. So that's part of what goes on.
Diligence. Yeah.
All right. Also, we have a body-worn camera grant that we won a year and a half ago, which we could not utilize because the police department already purchased the cameras. You can't reimburse it retroactively. However, we've worked with the Federal Department of Justice on this, and with Chief Skinner about a week and a half ago, we were on a conference call. Not only are they going to let us use that money, they increased the award to $44,000 so we can buy the next generation of body-worn cameras.
Excellent.
Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And last but not least, back after Hurricane Sandy, you were awarded a grant for $75,000 for an emergency generator, which was gone back and forth. I can't tell you how many times, but the bottom line is I was able to resurrect it, and we're going to use that $75,000 towards the generator that's now at the new fire station. We were given a deadline of March 30th to complete the project. I was able to get another 90-day extension because now the project has been completed and installed. There's some inspections and paperwork that have to be completed within the next 90 days, including a site visit by a woman by the name of Sylvia Hastry, who's our project director under the state police. So that should be accomplished very shortly also. That's basically the other stuff that's gone on that's not in my report.
So the generator has to be running in service?
It is.
Is it
Yes,
running in service now?
Yes, it is. That was, it's ironic because so much had to be done. We had to knock down the old firehouse. We had the old generator there was a single phase, could not be used at another location. The new generator's a 3-phase generator, plus the capacity is much greater than was originally requested. But the point is, I'm like a dog with a bone. I never want to give money back. And we kept this alive, and whatever the final cost of the generator, which is probably about over $300,000 installed, we're at least going to get $75,000 credit back, which you can use for whatever you want.
Thank you.
Okay. I try.
You hear that, Mr. Banks?
Wow.
Don't tell Mr. Sears that.
So, Mr. Vuno, I don't know, what have you been doing with your time? Just kidding. Great job. Thank you so much. We
Thank you,
appreciate
David.
it.
May I ask him one
Uh-huh.
follow-up question?
Sure, sure.
David, any idea when we can expect the money for the grant on the swim club property?
I'm sorry, what was that?
When can we expect the money from the grant on the swim club property?
We're actually wrapping that up right now. I just sent the prescribed deed of a conservation easement to township attorney. Ken is looking at it. I believe he sent it back. We're going to look at it closely. That has to be completed and filed. There's some environmental documentation that must be submitted. We should have this all completed, I would think, within 30 days. All the closing documents, proof of payment, survey, title policy, I forward all of that to Bergen County Open Space. So we're in the last steps there, but as with everything with the county, it takes a little time, but
Yes.
we're almost there.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
David, you looked into detention cells, correct? There was no grants available for that?
We didn't qualify.
For what?
No. The detention cells?
I already covered that.
You did?
Yeah, he said we didn't qualify.
I must have zoned out during your hour. and a
No,
half.
there's not, there is the one, but it's really for county and state.
Jails.
We don't
Thank
qualify. Okay. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you so
Have a good evening.
much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
David.
it.
I'll see you next week.
Okay. And then we move to miscellaneous review of RFQ submissions for auditor.
We just before you do that, you have ordinances and legislation, didn't you?
Yeah, but there's nothing here.
Yeah, all right, can I just have 1 minute?
Sure.
All right, so a minor thing. So remember, we passed the ordinance which changed the minimum size for garages, right? Remember that was last year. And that was on the recommendation of the Board of Adjustment. Well, the memo that was sent with that kind of indicated that we were going to do that because most of the towns didn't have maximums in their ordinances. So when I did the change, I just put in the minimum. But in talking to Paul, he said that the maximum should really be back in there. So I would like to just redo that and just add that back in because it was mistakenly taken out. So it's just kind of like putting back what was already in the code. There was a maximum that was calculated on the percentage and a maximum of 750 feet. So I actually did the ordinance already. So if that's okay, it's just putting back what was already there.
Okay,
All right?
okay.
Okay.
While we're on ordinances, can I make a request that we revisit the ordinance that,
The sign ordinance?
who did?
Sign ordinance?
Yeah, the sign ordinance.
With the size and the permits with the political signs.
Mhm.
The size, can you restrict the, can you add into it, maybe we could add into an ordinance, but would it be appropriate that it's the size and the use? Whereas the use is infringed on free speech.
We had
Stacy, is your microphone on?
Sorry.
we had a caller, Miss Grimaldi had called in earlier.
It's a free speech issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
what's
so
good.
it would be size and not use that we would require a permit for. Size, not use.
Do you know what it says right now? I can't honestly say I don't know. what
It's generic.
No, not her sign, what our ordinance says.
Says any sign.
Any sign, okay.
Well, Mike, can I
That's-
ask you a question? So some of the signs are fundraisers, right? For the Falcons or even for the school when the kids are graduating and you
That's-
have 3 or 4 kids playing on teams, you have.
Right.
That's all part of, I mean, you're breaking that law and it shouldn't be that way.
So if you
Yeah.
have 3 kids
Right.
playing on 3 teams.
Right, you have like
one
the
for each.
softball, you have the cheerleading, whatever you have in your front lawn.
You're gonna
That's what I was
you're gonna
asking.
overburden the building office.
Well, that's why
Yeah.
I think we should do that.
You know what? If it's
That's
not an
what-
advertisement, and it's not political, then we shouldn't
If
regulate
it's
it.
like, my kid's number 24 on the softball team, yay for my kid, like, I don't, that's why, can we specify use does not fall into the,
Which kid do you put in front of the
Right.
other?
So, but if we say, like, if it's for recreation use, I mean, can we, I don't know.
Well,
Are
how
we
about-
like getting close to the infringement of something, probably?
Mr. Pollard, do you have other, like, can you look at like other,
Yeah, let's do it this way. Signs, very, very, very difficult area. Nothing you should jump in and do like overnight. So I think we ought to take a look at that.
Yeah.
Maybe see what some of the other towns have and delve into it, because you gotta remember that, one day, oh, signs are fine. And then somebody puts up 15 signs on their property, and then another 12 signs on the next property for a variety of things. And people are going to start to feel like, wait a second, how much signage do I need in my neighborhood on every lawn for every purpose? So
Right.
I think, I don't say, I'm thinking it not a bad idea to look at it, but, go slowly and
I
let's
agree.
take a look and see what's around.
That's what I think.
Because you got contractor signs, I'm putting windows
You
in.
got, you got all sorts of signs. I mean, you could have a lawn that you'd never see any green, you just see signs. Like where they have,
You do this every council.
Just to clarify, the only portion of the ordinance that refers to size and numbers is the political signs.
Okay.
But yeah, but it does say all signs need a permit, so.
It had to be.
right.
All the parents in town showing up.
Well, there were a few exceptions, I think, like, well, anyway, it should be looked at, but, carefully.
Yeah, no, definitely. So will you be able to kind of do that?
I'll start looking at it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Along with your Falcon signs, here comes an application for a permit, please see town.
All right, there's nothing enclosed. Yes, motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Did you want to do?
What?
Oh, the
No, the auditor.
Not that I'm looking for some guys on when you would like to
Can
put
we,
it on
I
for,
motion to push that to next meeting.
Okay,
whatever you want, I mean.
I'll second that. Push it to next meeting.
Okay.
Ouch. Okay. Okay, so then now can I see, are you okay with this? Okay, motion to adjourn.
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next meeting of the Township Council will be on May 15th at 7:30.